my friends. And thank you so much for coming to spend part of your whatever day this is with me. Today is Tuesday, December 12th, and this is the response we have all been waiting for. Do I see that juror number one is in the house? Juror number one is in the house. I am flattered. Well, sir, we thank you for your service, and we are very, very, very sorry for what is happening to you in the public record. As you know, if any those of you who are watching have been watching my stream know how upset I am about this. And in fact, I think last Thursday, which was the first night of Hanukkah, when this original third supplement to the motion to have a new trial because of alleged juror misconduct dropped, I was very on fire that night. And I've settled down a bit, but we've been waiting for this response. And thank you to all of you who sent it to me. I was watching the court docket all day. I was watching the file. I kept refreshing. And while this document says that it was filed today at 8:40 a.m., it did not hit the docket at 11:40 a.m. 11:40 a.m. is when it says that it was filed, but I don't think it was filed until at least 4:30, which was, of course, the exact time that I left the house to do some errands with one of my kids. So we are going to read this together. I have read it already, but we are going to have a good time reading it. And before we do that, I thought of a new way to start off the show. So tonight is the first night that we're going to try this because you know that I'm a music lover. You know that I live for live music. You know that I'm a Deadhead. You know that you can see the poster up there for the Dead and Company forum shows from this year in California. Behind me is the Dave Matthews tour poster. Am I the only one who thinks in song lyrics? Because literally I do. I'll be thinking of something and a song will pop into my head with the exact thing that I'm thinking right now. And as I was getting ready for this show, I'm thinking, welcome to this one-man show. I'll read you a little bit more of the lyrics and we'll see who can guess this song. Welcome to this all made up and nowhere to go. Welcome to this one-man show. Just take a seat. They're always free. No surprise, no mystery. In this theater that I call my soul, I always play the starring role. If anybody knows what song that is from, tell me. I know I always think in song lyrics, Janine. I got a 10-second delay on the comments here, so maybe somebody's already guessed it. No, it's not AC/DC. Somebody will Google it and get it that way, I'm sure. Thank you, Becca Lynn, for becoming a new member. It's going to wait for a couple more people to show up because we know so many of you asked me to cover this today, and this is really hot off the press because I don't think it hit the public docket until, that's right, Monica, it's the police. It is the police, and I hear Sting in my head singing that. Welcome to this one-man show. So Lonely is the name of the song by the Police. It was released in, I don't know what year, but I'm going to say 80s. I'm going to say it was somewhere in the early 80s. But I did see Sting this summer perform at Jones Beach, and let me tell you what, he's got it. He's in his 70s, and he has still got it. His son opened for him. He's also a singer and musician, and it was really, really cool to see Sting and his son performing together at Jones Beach, which is right here on Long Island on the water. It's a lovely venue. If you ever have the chance and you're visiting here to go to a concert at Jones Beach in the summer, I highly recommend. Now Kim is thinking about Pinball Wizard because that's what she thought it was. Hello, Baroka, hello. Jones Beach is a great place. So welcome, my friends. Just when we thought it couldn't get any crazier, the Maya case is the gift that just keeps on giving. And hopefully Friday, this is going to be somewhat resolved, I hope. And I hope it's going to resolve in the way that I think it should be resolved because I think what the defense firm did with their Hanukkah dropping last week, their Hanukkah drop was a little outside the bounds of decency. Hello from Florida. Hello to Florida. Hello, Vicky. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. I love that you love my show. I love it. I love it. Oh, you like your Asbury Park, Jules? Jules is a Jersey girl. You can't take the Jersey. You can take the girl out of Jersey, but you can't take the Jersey out of the girl. Jones Beach is great, but I love my Asbury Park. Well, yeah, isn't that where Bruce Springsteen is from? Have you ever seen Springsteen in Asbury Park? That would be a very cool show. Oh, Virginia Little, no relation. I love all music, and a hobby is going to concerts. Yep, me too. I still do it. Still do it. Hello, I'm sent. I'm going to give you the scoop. Let's just wait one more second. Hello, Ed. Welcome to my friends to the show that never ends. Yep. It is. It's the gift that keeps on giving. So if any of you are just joining, which I can't imagine if you're just joining this stream and you don't know anything about the Maya Kowalski case, but let me just say that the $261 million verdict that the jury awarded to the Kowalski family all the way back on November 9th, it seems like a really long time ago, has since been challenged by the defense, JHACH, Johns Hopkins, all Children's Hospital, and their attorneys, Hill Ward Henderson, as being excessive, erroneous. We didn't do it. If we did it, it wasn't that bad. If it was that bad, you're overreacting. You awarded too much money. But we really don't think you should have won at all. So, Judge, can you just overturn the verdict and direct a verdict in our favor? And if you don't want to do that, could you please reduce the amount of the damages, because it's just way too much? And if you don't want to do that, then why don't you just give us a new trial altogether? And they're trying everything. But the most underhanded thing that they're trying, in my opinion, is to disparage juror number 1, who was the foreman of the jury, a fine, upstanding former law enforcement officer who became the foreman of the jury. He was the first person who showed up at jury duty when it was time to report, and he was the last person to leave. And during the trial, JHACH, who was rapidly reading Reddit threads, apparently, because that's where they got their last motion paper idea from, came to the conclusion that juror number 1 was absolutely 100% against the hospital, and therefore they tried to have him removed from the jury prior to deliberations. That attempt failed, and the jury deliberated. They came back with that verdict, and because of that verdict, JHACH has now taken to a personal, I'm going to say, attack on juror number 1 and his wife, and Jules, our eyes and ears in the public courtroom, who did absolutely nothing wrong. And the first part of their motion attempted to have misconduct defined by the fact that juror number 1 must have done outside research in violation of the court's directives because he knew the term creature comforts. And the only way that he could have known that was if he Googled Dr. Kirkpatrick's website. But we quickly debunked that theory because all of us who did watch the trial knew exactly where creature comforts came from. In addition to being a pretty common saying, it was also something that one of the witnesses had testified about. When that theory didn't seem to work, they then came up with some other theories, like juror number 1, who was directed by the court to not discuss this case with anyone, must have been discussing this case with his wife, because his wife, who was known as Hippo Lover on YouTube, was participating in live streams of the trial and chats and sending super chats. And therefore, she knew things that she could only have known by speaking to her, quote, household companion, her husband, who she actually lived with. This was a big part of their motion, that juror number 1 and his wife actually lived together and that they were household companions. And when that didn't work, they started going after Jules. And they said that it must be because Jules was in the courtroom and she was sitting next to, what can we think about? Oh, well, wait, she was sitting in the courtroom when We tried to get juror number 1 removed from the jury. And then when Greg Anderson, the plaintiff's lawyer, said, okay, I agree. Let's make him an alternate and take an alternate in his place, the jazz hands went on at the defense table. Remember the jazz hands? There were jazz hands at the defense table. And therefore, but what really happened was Jack Kowalski didn't see the jazz hands, or the absolute fist pumping glee from the defense table when Greg Anderson said, okay, I'll agree to replace juror number 1. No. Jack Kowalski turned around into the gallery and looked at Jules. And it was then that Greg Anderson decided to consult with his client. And after consulting with his client, he said, no, I need to go with my client on this one, and I need to let juror number 1 stay on the jury. That was another thin thread that the defense is trying to swing on for this motion. And it's been pointed out since then that during the court feed, Jules wasn't even looking over at Jack Kowalski, so not really sure. They're saying now that plaintiff says that the jury consultant, I think, was sitting next to Jules, and perhaps he looked at the jury consult. Who cares? Who cares is the point. Who cares? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Maybe you should look at the jazz hands that went on that were clearly on camera. We saw it, we rewound it, and we watched it several times. We could not believe the glee that could not be contained at the defense table when Greg Anderson said for a second that he would agree to let juror number 1 go. But alas, that wasn't enough, because then the defense had to come up with a second reason, a second supplement to that motion. And during that second supplement, or wait, I think during the first supplement, an additional argument was that, and we looked at the jury questionnaire that juror number 1 filled out, and there was a list of about 96 names on that list that every juror had to check off whether they knew this person or didn't know this person. And there was a woman on there by the name of Deborah Salisbury, who's an attorney. And if you watch the documentary, she was in the documentary, but she never did testify at the trial. Well, defense pulled up some sort of court record that may or may not have connected his wife, his current wife, with Deborah Salisbury at some point in 2007 when juror number 1 wasn't even married to his current wife, and said, aha, judge, aha. Juror number 1's wife, who he lives with, by the way, and is his household companion, may have been involved in some sort of proceeding in which Deborah Salisbury was involved, and therefore he lied on his jury questionnaire. He lied, Your Honor. He lied. He must know who Deborah Salisbury is. Because, of course, everything that juror number 1's wife did prior to her marriage is known to juror number 1. It's just osmosis, Your Honor. We poked holes in that theory pretty quickly as well. But then there's more. The second supplement to the motion had another court filing from even longer ago, I believe, than 2007, in which juror number 1 may or may not have been involved in some sort of family court proceeding. And therefore, Your Honor, he could not have possibly been fair in his determination of this case, because he must have an axe to grind with DCF. There was no good faith basis for that argument. But it didn't stop there, because last Thursday, which was the first night of Hanukkah, the defense filed a third supplement to their motion for juror misconduct against juror number 1. And in that motion, they have done something that I have never seen in 30 years of practicing law in the state of New York. And trust me when I tell you, I know a lot of sleazy lawyers, and I've seen a lot of sleazy lawyer tricks, things that would make your hair curl. But I've never seen anything like this. Because you see, Your Honor, according to the defense's argument, there was one note that juror number 1 sent to the court. It wasn't a question for the witness. It was just a note to the court. And it was right after having viewed Sally Smith's deposition testimony on Plaintiff's case in chief, which we watched together. We analyzed. We didn't think she came across like a very nice person. But in that note, and without a handwriting analyst, expert, by the way, the defense said because juror number 1 wrote his S's in Sally Smith's name to be sharp like lightning bolts, he must think that she's a Nazi because that's clearly the symbol for Schutzstaffel or SS and has to do with Hitler and Nazis. And therefore, he clearly had a bias against Sally Smith because of the way he wrote those S's. And I pointed out to you that the defense pulled this theory directly from a Reddit thread, word for word, with the note and everything. And then I pointed out to you that Kiss also writes their name that way. The rock band Kiss, AC/DC has that symbol in their name because, I love music. I also threw the Gatorade symbol in there and the Tampa Bay Lightning symbol in there. And I was happy to see that a couple of those things made the plaintiff's response. So maybe they're watching. I don't know. But I know we have a lot of lurkers here. And if Greg Anderson and his team did see that stream that I did, and I gave them the Gatorade idea and the AC/DC idea and the Kiss idea, well, you're welcome. It's my pleasure. I'm here to help, and I'm happy to help because this, my friends, this is a case that should shock your conscience. Because not only is it pointing out to us how CRPS patients and other patients with chronic illnesses and chronic pain disorders are medically gaslit throughout their lives and told their pain isn't real and nobody's going to believe them, but we've also had a front row seat to see how a privatized DCS system, or really any DCF system, can take your child away, strip you of your parental rights within less than a week, and put your child in state custody in a state hospital, which will put the burden on you to hire an attorney, maybe sell your second home if you have one to pay for it, and keep your child away from you for more than 90 days. That is shocking. And what we have also learned from this trial, and we have had a front row seat to, is that as a juror, if you come back with a verdict that the defense firm doesn't like, apparently your entire life is fair game and public record. And there is no limit to which the defense firm can come after you publicly, publish your name and your address, because they did that to juror number 1 in the first court filing without redacting anything. Although you may recall they were very, very careful to file certain things under seal with the court that they didn't want the public to see, certain things relating to their accreditation and the IJ and the Joint Commission reports, all things that were harmful to them. But in their mind, somehow it was perfectly okay to do that to juror number 1, and to not only do that, but to keep doubling down and disparaging him. And we're going to see tonight what the plaintiffs have to say as a clapback to that. And with that, I bring you plaintiff's response, which I think is a work of art and very measured, very classy. And that's how we roll here. So we welcome everyone here who wants to be here. We welcome respectful debates in the comments. If you use foul language, I don't really like that. I'm not a fan of the cursey words, so we try and stay away from that. I do have the best moderators on YouTube. So if you personally attack me or my moderators or other people in the chat, you will be blocked. This has become a safe place for patients of CRPS and other chronic pain disorders, parents, and anyone with a heart and soul to watch the coverage and commentary on the Maya trial, because we do not tolerate bullies here. So if you are going to bully, you might want to change the channel and go somewhere else, because there are plenty of other choices to watch this on. But if you like it here, please stay. Hit the like button and, do all of those things that creators ask you to do to help that weird YouTube algorithm that nobody really seems to understand, including me. And here we go. This was filed today at 11:40 a.m. in Sarasota, Florida. This is plaintiff's response to the second supplement to defendant's motion for a new trial based on juror misconduct. motion for juror interview, motion to open discovery into evidence of juror misconduct, and emergency motion to preserve evidence. Oh, and I did forget one thing also that the defense asked the judge to do. The defense wants the judge to grant them, the attorneys, an interview with juror number 1 and his wife, and would like the judge to order that juror number 1 and his wife turn over their cell phones, their social media accounts, and their Google search history so that they can go on a fishing expedition to find out if there was any outside research done or any communications between them or anything that they could possibly hang on to show that juror number 1 conducted himself improperly for a juror, and that they should be able to get a new trial based on that. So, go fish. And here we go. Plaintiffs, Jack Kowalski individually, Jack Kowalski as parent and next friend of MK, a minor, and Jack Kowalski as personal representative of the estate of Beata Kowalski, deceased, by and through undersigned counsel, hereby file this response to defendants Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital, JHACH's second supplement to defendant's motion for a new trial based on juror misconduct, motion for juror interview, motion to open discovery into evidence of juror misconduct, and emergency motion to preserve evidence, and in support state as follows. The defendant's second supplement should be stricken and sanctions imposed upon the defendant for raising such inflammatory and callous allegations without a sound bias. I'd like to highlight the important parts here so that if you come back and watch it again, you know exactly what I think is important. The second supplement fails to raise any issue that, even if true, could serve as justification for a new trial, since the October 12th note written by juror number 1 was shown to all counsel at the time. And defendant failed to raise any issue about the alleged rune in that note. Let's look footnote number 1. See clip of counsel reviewing notes available at this YouTube link, last accessed December 11th, 2023. We may click on that link later just for fun. But right now I'm going to take their word for it. Quote, where a lawyer knows of an incident potentially compromising the jury before a verdict is returned, but fails to object or alert the court until after the verdict is announced, the incident may not be raised as a ground for a new trial. Citing Rooney v. Hannon, which is a case from 1999. The second district holds the same. When it was discovered during deliberations that the bailiff had left the judge's copy of instructions with changes made during the charge conference in the jury room, the defendant's objection was untimely because it was not made until after the jury had delivered an adverse verdict, citing Hargrove. In sum, defendant's erroneous argument is not preserved. I'm going to break for 1 second to tell you that having to go check with Reddit to make your argument is not a valid excuse for making your argument late. Just saying. Defense counsel had the opportunity to review the note and failed to raise any issue. Defendant cannot now assail the adverse verdict by raising an issue it could have raised at the time. Beyond defendant's waiver, the callous disregard of defendant on display in its second supplement should be met with sanctions. I've been saying this all along. Let me know what you think if this is callous disregard. Rule 4-8.4, misconduct. They don't say exactly what this rule is, but this is the Florida State Bar Rules of Ethics for Professional Responsibility that all lawyers are sworn to uphold. When you take the bar exam is in 2 parts. You have, well, in New York, it's 3 parts. You have one part that's all New York law, the second part that is all common law, and then the third part of the bar exam is an ethics exam that you must pass to become an attorney. It's not taken at the same time as the bar, or at least it didn't used to be, but it is an ethics test that all lawyers must take and pass. And when you are sworn in as an attorney, you are sworn in to uphold the ethical rules of being an attorney. It's part of the package. Rule 4-8.4, misconduct. A lawyer shall not, this is not optional, shall not engage in conduct in connection with the practice of law that is prejudicial to the administration of justice, including to knowingly or through callous indifference disparage or humiliate jurors on any basis. I would submit to you that this was completely knowingly, but at the very least, it was certainly with callous indifference. The defendant's second supplement is beyond the pale. I think I used those words as well. If the first supplement fell short of serving no purpose other than to disparage and or humiliate juror number one, there's no question that the defendant has succeeded in displaying callous indifference toward juror number one in its second supplement. The basis for the second supplement is so thin, so poorly reasoned, and so inflammatory that defendant's intent to disparage juror number one above all else is clear. Defendant selects a singular note from one of the approximately 200 questions and notes submitted by juror number one during the trial to suggest that juror number one, quote, equated Dr. Sally Smith with a notorious Nazi organization, end quote, and accuses juror number one of the use of Nazi symbolism, end quotes. Defendant argues that the juror number one's alleged use of Nazi symbolism demonstrates a clear bias, prejudice, and prejudgment against her and thus defendant. Sorry, we're in the singular here. That is the defendant's argument. Defendant jumps from stylized S's on the October 10th note without any evidence of such intent, in plain ignorance of other, more likely and plausible explanations, and with callous disregard for the effect on juror number one's reputation. There's your callous disregard. Before suggesting that juror number one had such an intent to use Nazi symbolism and implying that juror number one was a neo-Nazi or white supremacist based upon his use of such Nazi symbolism, the defendant developed no evidence, ignored the manifest weight of the other writings of juror number one, suggesting no such intent, and opted for the most heinous explanation of the stylized S's in juror number one's note. Should be pointed out here as I break from reading once again that juror number one sent approximately 200 questions and notes during the trial. I submit to you that there has never been a juror who paid more attention than one who has 200 questions during the course of a 9-week trial. Now we're going to get into some of those notes because they're attached as exhibits. First, the defendant ignores that the Sowilo rune, that's what they are calling this, the Sowilo rune, predated the Nazi Party and the Schutzstaffel by approximately 18 centuries. Oh boy, 18 centuries, with the earliest known inscriptions dating back to the 2nd or 3rd century. Let's take a look at footnote number 2. And that is a Wikipedia page, which we can also look at later. But right now, I'll take their word for it. The Sowilo rune regularly appears in popular culture, having been incorporated into the logos, the bands Kiss and Slayer, Caesar's Palace, Thrasher Magazine, etc., and the rune alphabet having been used in both Lord of the Rings and more recently, Harry Potter. As so many of my viewers pointed out, Harry Potter, Patronus Glow was right in there saying this is right out of Harry Potter. See Composite Exhibit A. Let's go to Exhibit A, shall we? Here is an explanation of the Sowilo rune, S, the sun. Says this rune represents success, goals achieved, honor, the life force, health, or a time when power will be available to you for positive changes in your life, victory, health, and success. Contact between the higher self and the unconscious. It symbolizes wholeness, power, elemental force, sword of flame, cleansing fire. Sowilo Merkstav, Sowilo cannot be reversed, but may lie in opposition, signifies false goals, bad counsel, false success, gullibility, loss of goals, destruction, retribution, justice, casting down of vanity, and the wrath of God. Here is a nice little montage, I will say, of some logos that also use this rune that we also looked at the other day on my live stream when I compiled my little Google Slides presentation for you. AC/DC, Harry Potter, Flash, Gatorade. Etc., etc., etc. Including even the Facebook Messenger logo, Flash. Some people pointed out some other things to me the other night. Slayer, I think, the band Slayer. This is still part of Exhibit A, and this is a map of some sort. Perhaps somebody can explain to me what this is. I don't know if this is a Dungeons and Dragons thing. I don't know. The desolation of SMAUG, it says in the middle. So this must be all the way back, all those centuries ago when they started using. Oh, it's a map from Lord of the Rings. Thank you. Thank you, Callista. I knew you guys would know. Okay, so this is a Lord of the Rings map. Thank you. And as you can see, we can see that rune throughout. Here's the Hobbit runes alphabet, in which it also appears, and here it is right here for the letter S. Thresher Magazine logo. Caesar's Palace logo. Yeah, that's pretty. Maybe he's like, juror number one. I don't even want you to say a thing. Just listen up. Are you a gambler? I don't know. Maybe you had that in your head. I'm going to say you're a fan of the rock band Kiss. That was my guess when I did this stream the other night. That was Exhibit A that we just looked at. So just to reread that sentence so that we know what we looked at. The Sowilo rune regularly appears in popular culture, having been incorporated into the logos of the bands Kiss and Slayer, Caesar's Palace, Thrasher Magazine, etc. And the rune alphabet having been used in both Lord of the Rings and most recently Harry Potter. Nonetheless, defendant callously opts for the most sinister of interpretations, even in writing his own name. Juror number one has a tendency to use sharp angles as indicated by the P and L he signed on the verdict form. Let's look at Exhibit B, shall we? And here are the sharp letters to which the plaintiff refers. Moreover, the defendant argues that juror number one expressed prejudice against Dr. Smith on October 12th, and even before that, on October 10th, prejudged the relationship between JHACH and Dr. Smith. The defendant attaches the October 10th and 12th questions, intentionally omitting the numerous other mentions of Dr. Sally Smith within juror number one's questions. Kind of like how Sally Smith intentionally omitted Dr. Kirkpatrick's records from her submissions to the dependency court. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree now, does it? She said during her proffer that it wasn't her job to give the dependency court information that might conflict with hers. That was the job of the attorney for the parents. That was not her job. She was very adamant and militant even about that. Of course, that was outside the presence of the jury. See compendium of juror number one's questions referencing Dr. Sally Smith at Composite Exhibit C. Let's look at Exhibit C. These are some of the notes of juror number one in which he mentions S. Smith during his notes. This we know because we looked at this the other day, was the only other page in addition to the Nazi-like essays that the defense submitted in that third supplemental response. And this was after Dr. Kirkpatrick's testimony, which was before the jury was shown the deposition testimony of Sally Smith on video. So here he's writing regular S's here. And then here is another note. It doesn't say the date, but again, Sally Smith, regular S's. Here is October 19th. So that's after the alleged Nazi note in which he writes Sally Smith with regular curvy S's. So again, if he formulated that bias and opinion and hatred towards Sally Smith all the way back on, I think it was October 12th, he didn't continue to use the Nazi symbolism in her name after that date. Maybe he was tired that day. This is from October 24th during Dr. D's testimony. Again, curvy S's, more curvy S's during Dr. D's testimony. Again on October 27th. October 27th, more regular S's. More regular S's again on October 27th. October 30th. Again, regular S's. So I don't know about you, but to me, that argument kind of falls flat. Because if he felt that way, perhaps he would have used those Nazi S's every time after that day. I don't know, just my opinion. As a reasonable person, bus stop juror, if you will. The full scope of juror number one's questions clearly demonstrate that juror number one neither expressed prejudice against Dr. Sally Smith and did not prejudge the relationship between JHACH and Dr. Smith. Importantly, if defendant's allegations are accepted as true, that juror number one's stylistic S's demonstrated prejudice on October 12th, his view of Dr. Sally Smith softened throughout the trial. The full set of juror number one's questions, all postdating the October 12th reference, invariably use soft S's. Just as importantly, defendant's myopic view of the two notes attached to its second supplement ignore the clear, direct questions asked by juror number one, reflecting that he remained open-minded throughout the trial. Keeping in mind that defendant argues that juror number one's October 10th note conclusively demonstrates that he had prejudged the relationship between JHACH and Dr. Sally Smith, the October 24th question posed by juror number one to Dr. Paula Dees is instructive. Doctor, if during this time Dr. Smith was, as per Mr. Shapiro, was acting as a DCF employee, then is it proper for Dr. Smith to act as a contributing staff member of JHACH? 2 weeks after the defendant contends juror number one had prejudged the relationship between JHACH and Dr. Sally Smith, he asked a JHACH physician whether her actions within the hospital as they related to Maya were proper. Defendant fails to explain this inconsistency. Shocking, not shocking. Or consider juror number one's question to Dr. Randall Alexander, the defendant's child abuse expert, on October 31st. Dr. Alexander, is it normal for Sally Smith acting in a DCF capacity to even offer medical advice to JHACH on a juvenile patient while she is not to be a doctor at JHACH, but now in the hat of a DCF investigator. So, normal or not normal? Even as late as Halloween, less than 10 days before the jury delivered its verdict, juror number 1 was exploring the contours of Sally Smith's various roles and her role at the hospital. Defendant offers no explanation. With even a modicum of due diligence and consideration of the collection of juror number 1's questions, the defendant's second supplement collapses under its own premise, and defendant's true purpose to further disparage and humiliate juror number 1 shines through. Since the verdict was rendered by the 6 jurors on November 9th, the defendant has moved far beyond simply defending itself and deliberately attempted to destroy the reputation of another human being simply because he served his civic duty and in doing so joined his fellow 5 jurors in disagreeing with the defendant's indefensible position. The whole thing deserves to be in yellow. Wherefore, plaintiff respectfully requests that this honorable court deny defendant's motion, strike the second supplement as both frivolous and scandalous, and award attorneys' fees and costs. And for any other further relief, this honorable court deems just and proper. Respectfully submitted, Anderson Glenn by Greg Anderson. And when he says, and any other relief this honorable court deems just and proper, you can bet that means monetary sanctions against the defense firm. What I am surprised that they did not bring up in this response or opposition is that it was pulled from Reddit. I'm surprised they didn't bring that up. Maybe they wanted to be classy. Maybe they wanted to rise above. And for that, I applaud them. But you know me, I'm snarky. I might have put that in there. The reason they didn't make the objection timely, Your Honor, is because they had to go back and read all the Reddit threads and conspiracy theories, because that's where they got it from. Maybe he's saving it for court. Maybe. Could be. Oops, where'd I go? But why not put it in the papers too? You know? I don't know. Maybe they didn't see my stream. Maybe they didn't get the receipt off my stream. What say you, my friends? What say you? I wonder if they'll bring it up in oral argument. Yeah. I wonder. Kim, they got caught in the rabbit hole of Reddit. Yes, they did. I don't know, Becca. That's interesting. I wonder if they're unaware. I don't know. Maybe they are unaware. But, you know, they get a lot of emails. They get a lot of emails with a lot of information that people are sending them all the time, as you know. You guys send me information all the time, and I love it. Keep doing it. They send the defense firm information all the time, just like they sent those pictures of Maya at homecoming and Halloween to the defense firm. Diane, I cannot believe this is from a real court of law. These defense lawyers are more childish than my teens. Cali girl, no, they didn't add it because a bunch of the responses are also from us. To be fair, we keep it classy and real. We do. We do keep it classy and real. Thank you. Thank you for being part of the class. You can go to the head of the class. Shannon said, thank God RA will be in court and we can watch. This is beyond despicable. Somebody told me today that Law and Crime will also be streaming live from the courtroom. Somebody emailed me today and told me that, or they commented on one of my videos that Law and Crime was going to be there and it was going to be televised. So I don't know. Skoda, I agree with you. This is so embarrassing for the defense. Hello, Justice Berserker. Thank you for joining. Thank you for subbing. Please hit the subscribe button if you like what you see. We're not afraid to talk about the tough topics, as you can see, and we do it with a side of snark. It's all free. It's all free. So hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you'll be notified. Anderson talked about Reddit. He did. Okay, somebody just said here, BG said, Melanie, I don't even know what Reddit is. Is it like an online national inquirer? Well, no, because it's not like reporting. It's actually like people talking about stuff, whatever. Think of any topic that you can think of, and there are people discussing it, and they have threads about it, and they talk about it, and you can search up anything in there, and there's a lot of truth, there's a lot of good information, and there's a lot of conspiracy theories. If somebody can explain it better than I can, please do. It's a message board, kind of like a message board, KL, right? A message board, but people have conversations with each other, and there's all kinds of groups about all different types of subjects, and then you can upvote somebody's answer to the top, and they fight, and they talk about things. And here, maybe Kim has a better explanation than I do. It's a thread of different types of topics, and there's a lot of answers and questions and conspiracies. Yeah, there's also some really good info in there too. Thank you, Hippo Lover, for coming to watch the coverage. I want to read you guys some of and again, I apologize for what has happened to you and to your husband. I think it's a disgrace. It makes me embarrassed to be a lawyer. I said this the other night on Hanukkah when I was so personally offended by this, and I get very passionate about it because I was embarrassed to be a lawyer that day. And that is why people hate lawyers. And I said in that stream, and I stand by this, Hill Ward Henderson may be the firm that takes down the juror system in this country, because who is going to want to serve on a jury after this? If this is not corrected and rectified, and there's not a public spanking that goes on here for this conduct by a law firm, nobody's going to want to serve on a jury in Florida, let alone the rest of the country. We're supposed to have the greatest court system in the world, right? We have the jury system where you're supposed to be judged by a jury of your peers. And if it is allowed to be tainted like that, and jurors are allowed to be personally doxxed and attacked when a defense firm doesn't like a jury's verdict, that is a very, very, very scary day in America, folks. A very scary day. Let's go to, there are some good subreddits, but there's also wild and unhinged stuff there. Yeah. Nancy, Hunter et al. Have replaced the Three Stooges law firm to eat sheet. It's excellent. Callista says about Reddit, it's technically a news aggregation site, but it's basically turned into a giant message board about everything. Magnolia just is a chat board. I guess it goes back to the old like chat room kind of days, right? I mean, it's like up there. Is it like as old as MySpace and stuff like that? Perhaps. Thank you, Juror number 1, for your super sticker. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate you for coming here, and I would love to answer any questions on your behalf that anyone else may ask that may aid you in some sort of rebuilding of your life and reputation after this. I am very, very sorry, and I apologize on behalf of the entire bar of the United States of America for what has happened to you. And I know that's probably not that much of doesn't make you feel better, but hopefully this will be taken care of on Friday. And I have great faith in Judge Carroll that he will take care of this and nip this in the bud and shut this down, because this should never be allowed to happen again to anyone. Emmy, thank you for your super sticker. I appreciate. Hippo Lover, also appreciate you and your household companion. So thanks for coming over to watch. Cat Girl, Callie Girl, you know how much I appreciate you. And Atticus, thank you so much for your super chat. Thank you so much, Melanie. We'll reread this numerous times. Cannot find the join button, so this will have to do for now. Well, you know what? My moderators do drop it in the chat. Usually it's directly below the video if you're watching on a laptop. The iPhone link is wonky. YouTube has been glitching like crazy lately, so there's been a lot of glitches, but we have an iPhone link for you if you're trying to do it from an iPhone. And we have a lot of fun here. Hello, D. D, excellent info. In the Deft trial, the defense lawyers got an order from the court that the jurors' names couldn't be released to anybody for 1 year. This is what needs to be done in every jurisdiction in the U.S. That case was in Virginia, I believe, right? Virginia or West Virginia. You know, this is something that is beyond the pale of any attorney to ever do. You know, it's up to the juror. If the juror wants to go out and talk to the media and introduce himself and give everyone his name and write a book. It's his prerogative. It is not for the defense firm to do. So I just think that perhaps judge didn't think he needed an order like that because nobody's ever done that before. Hi, Nancy. When we hear about what happens in court Friday, apparently it's going to be televised on Law and Crime, so you can watch it live, and we will discuss it. Let's just take a look, shall we? If you would like to, at the notes that were attached by juror number one, that juror number one wrote during the trial, because they will give us a little bit further insight as to how unbiased he was and how well reasoned his questions were. This we looked at the other day. This was to Dr. Kirkpatrick. You received a formal request from Dr. S. Smith of JHACH for your records about Maya, correct? You stated you made a call to S. Smith. Did you send the copies to Smith? This is not undated, but it says, y'all, I know this witness cannot be asked, but will it at some point be covered? I think this witness said something about, quote, flagging this patient equaling Maya. This witness contacted Sally Smith, she said, correct? How did this witness contact Sally Smith? Phone, emails, what date? What was told or relayed to Sally Smith at JHACH? Was Maya, quote, at JHACH when this witness called Sally Smith? Is it that this witness knew Maya? I mean, these are amazing questions. These are questions we all wanted to know the answers to. 3, and this was, it says second round, Dr. Tepa Sanchez on the left up here, which must be the clerk's writing to identify this note. This was on October 19th, which was long after the Nazi S's were in the note, or the KISS S's, I'm going to say. Dr. Tepa, 1, you did document Beata's comments of death and going to heaven. Did you also point this out clearly to Dr. Sally Smith during your October 8th, after your rounds phone call to Dr. Sally Smith? And look what he did. He was respectful enough to insert doctor in front of Sally Smith when he realized that he left that out. And you remember when we watched Dr. Corcoran's testimony. If you haven't subscribed to Dr. Joe's channel, you should. It's at CMO Dr. Joe. He started his own YouTube channel. And he's had a couple great live streams already. But you remember when we watched his testimony, how mad I got when whatever attorney, whether it was Hunter or Shapiro, was questioning him and called him Mr. Corcoran several times. And I was incensed that they didn't have the respect when they represent a hospital full of doctors to call the expert witness on the stand, who is in fact a doctor. They didn't address him as doctor. 2, are you the one that said learned today? If not, do you know who said it? 3, you testified after Maya left your care about October 8th, you had no further contact evidence. 4, you testified you communicated with Dr. Sally Smith. What date and time? What documentation of contact? Was it an email or a medical notation in paper files, or verbal with a written follow-up? I'm just going to highlight some questions here so we can go back to these. And Dr. Timmons says that happens all the time. Yeah, and you don't seem to get bothered by it, but I do. I get offended if someone doesn't call you doctor. I get offended. Does it offend you? I guess you know you don't care, but I think it's kind of rude, especially if they know that you're a doctor and they do it on purpose. That was sort of like a dig, you know. It was kind of like a dig. I felt, in my own personal opinion, I felt that it was a little bit of a dig and a little bit of a not nice thing to do. This is for during Dr. D's testimony. Doctor, okay, S. Smith text you with what you say is just a suggestion about taking Maya off meds. You also stated Dr. Smith is not part of the quote treatment team, end quote. Then this jury is shown a text, I believe from you to Dr. Smith, Responding is something similar to you are or you have your responding by virtue makes Dr. Smith, quote, a team player, end quote. So is she or is she not a part of the team? Juror number one, you were paying better attention than some of the people who were, commentating on this stream. You're unbelievable attention. The questions that you were asking were so intuitive and so well reasoned and so thought out, and you got it. You did get it. They just don't get it. They still just don't get it, but you got it. It's like, which is it? Is she part of the treatment team or is she not part of the treatment team? And it just shows that you, as a reasonable person and a reasonable juror, were getting it. How can she be a part of the team, but she's not part of the team? But she's wearing a jacket, but she's not wearing a jacket, but she's wearing a badge. When the doctors at JHACH were calling her part of the treatment team, you saw right through it. Congratulations. Congratulations. Somebody said, Melanie, your voice is telling I can guess how irritated you are because the more irritated you are, the deeper your accent, especially Hunt. Oh, hi, Lorraine. We probably do have people from Reddit here. Listen, guys, if you're from Reddit, I welcome you. I welcome you. I do. I welcome respectful debate. And if you disagree with me, I welcome you to put a question in the chat respectfully, and we can talk about this. And I understand that a lot of you think that the verdict was exorbitant. And a lot of you think that, this is going to, I don't even know what you think, actually. If you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. But in all likelihood, this verdict will be reduced to something that the parties can agree to settle on. And that's what it should be. And if you can defend their actions in keeping a daughter away from her mother, who's 10 years old in a hospital for over 90 days, to the point where she feels she has no other choice but to unalive herself. And we can disagree on whether or that unaliving may or may not have been the hospital's fault. But we certainly cannot disagree on what actually happened, and the fact that they made two calls to the child abuse hotline, and the fact that they didn't have the right to keep Maya in the hospital for the first week before there was a court order, and that they wouldn't let them leave. So there are a lot of things that could have been handled differently. And so I don't get it. But listen, if you want to put your questions in here, I'm happy to talk to you about it. I am. This was also to Dr. D's second round doctor. If during this time, Dr. Smith was, per Mr. Shapiro, was acting as a DCF employee, then is it proper for Dr. Smith to act as a contributing staff member of JHACH? Another great question. This was Dr. Sally Smith after she testified live on 1027. And this was not allowed, as you can see. No, this was not allowed. Dr. Smith. And this I submit to you. If juror number one did really think that Sally Smith was a Nazi, that this would have been the time for him to use those SS's when she testified live. And he was writing this question directly to her, that he would, in his handwriting, express his feelings about her. If those were, in fact, his feelings, which I submit to you they are not. And even if they were, I submit to you that would not equal misconduct on the part of a juror and or bias and or give them a new trial and or a directed verdict and or many of the other things that they are asking for. But if any time would be to use those letters, it might have been during this also, right? Because she testified, she was on the stand for the second time. The first time was by video deposition. This was live testimony. Dr. Smith, during your testimony, when I asked if when hospital staff took so long to respond to Maya's calls for assistance to yes, the facilities, and had to go on herself, that is not child abuse. That said, in all your years of CPT DCF service, you have never used documentation of a person or child's appearance of defecation upon themselves as evidence of at least possible child abuse. And I love what he writes next in parentheses. P.S. I did when I was a PO on the scene. Maybe this was the day that he decided that she was not telling the truth, because that's an excellent question. And although it wasn't allowed to be asked of Dr. Smith, was this particular question brought up during the in-court argument of the motion to relieve juror number 1 prior to deliberations? I don't recall. If anybody does recall that, this would have been the note to bring up. But alas, it was not. You know why? Because based on juror number 1's prior notes, he was not associating Sally Smith with JHACH. Right? So they didn't think it was going to be a problem until the verdict was a problem. Now they're grasping at straws, trying to find any excuse that they can, including conspiracy theories from Reddit. This was a note, again, to Dr. Sally Smith. And again, no, we can't ask this. And if all of you, many of you, some of you, most of you watched the live daily live streams on Recovery Addict, because he had the Zoom feed, he could often hear what was happening at the bench when the lawyers went up to discuss the questions with Judge Carroll. And he would repeat to us, because I did watch too, what the questions were. And we could hear them at home. Dr. Smith, is conversion disorder and Munchausen or Munchausen by proxy somewhat the same or similar? They seem to come up interchangeably. I feel that they are kind of similar, so I have to ask this question. Back in summer of 2015, when Dr. Rice testified it was conversion disorder, should that not have triggered Dr. Rice to call the abuse hotline? Or was the Dr. Rice call to you what Dr. Rice thought was her duties, and you determined no follow-up needed? That is a great question. It's too bad we didn't get to hear the answer from that from Dr. Sally Smith on the stand. Here's another note. Dr. Sally Smith, 1027 from juror number 1. Dr. Smith. Well, up here it says 1026 and over here it says 1027. I'm not sure. Dr. Smith, and then this is crossed out, but I'm going to read the crossed out portions. Please clarify or refresh my memory. Dr. Tepa Sanchez, I found out, yes, Tepa is ACH. Then he crossed that out. And then he wrote, my notes from Dr. Rice from a 1/22/21 video deposition. I have notes that Dr. Rice of TGH, I guess that's Tampa General Hospital, had encountered Maya and per her own words said what Maya had was, quote, conversion disorder, stating Maya had no physical issues. It had to be psychological. And for these reasons had to call you at JHACH to, quote, raise a red flag, end quote. I believe was or similar to what Dr. Rice said. Interesting question. This was during Kathy Beatty's testimony, which we also went over together on 10/30. Mrs. Beatty, you testified much of what you did was at the direction of risk management of JHACH. During that time, do you know who was on what? And then he crossed this out. I recall as the risk management advisory board of team, particularly possibly Dr. Sally Smith, as I think she was during her tenure on many, quote, board or teams, end quote. Or Judge Carroll, Shapiro, Anderson, is this question, the person that was assigned to the zone would have been Dr. Sally Smith. Am I correct? This is also crossed out. Believing I was correct in my last two assertions when Dr. Rice of Tampa General Hospital called Dr. Smith at JHACH to give information to Dr. Smith about Maya, about her or Rice's concerning observations that appeared to have DCF overtones. 1, Dr. Smith should have documented this in some kind of DCF form. Judge C, I think that says 3 lawyers. If Dr. Smith notes on call if she did document in evidence, or are they forbidden? I think that's forbidden. This is during Dr. Alexander's testimony on Halloween, October 31st. Dr. Alexander, this is crossed off. You said that the doctor writing the order indicating Dr. Smith was offering advice, and the handwritten note you don't know enough about. As a juror, we know a lot more than you learned over the last months of testimony. So I will simply ask, is it normal for Sally Smith, acting in a DCF capacity, to even offer medical advice? Another great question. And you can see as we go through these questions, and remember, these are only some of the 200 questions of juror number 1. But if we were to go through all of the jury questions throughout the course of this 9-week trial, you would see, and we are seeing, just how this jury came to their determination. It was not based on fallacies and made up stuff. They were considering the evidence. They had well thought out questions, especially juror number 1. This was Nurse Flores' testimony on November 1st. Nurse Flores, you were one of Maya's floor nurses. Was your shift day or nighttime at that time? And that one was okay. Next question. During that time, how much contact did you have in your duties with Kathy Beatty, Sally Smith? That was okay. I'm interested in if your contact was you seeking out them to give them information about Maya, or any of them seeking out you to ask you about, that's the last page. There was more to that question, but we're not going to see it because that is where it cuts off. And back to the chat. Thank you, Amber. Oh, your cupcake turned blue today. Congratulations. Blue cupcake for 2 months. Thank you, Becca Lynn, for becoming a new member. The membership here is called Melanie's Little Cupcakes. Whodunny became a YouTube member. Congratulations. And Emmy became a member. And the reason for that is my logo over here says, I am not a cupcake. And there's a little pink sign over here behind me. That's my daily reminder that says, you cannot make everyone happy. You are not a cupcake. I am, in addition to being a New York State trial lawyer for over 30 years, I am the mother of 5 children, and I cannot make everyone happy. I am not a cupcake. But my members make me happy, and apparently I make them happy enough to want to join my membership. So that's why we are called Melanie's Little Cupcakes. And I guess I'm the Queen Cupcake, and that is that's where we are today. So thank you to all my members. Ruby R.A. repeated this question from Zoom feed. I thought it was great. Sharon thinks in lyrics too, mostly Jimmy Buffett and Genesis. I'm a diehard Parrothead and a deadhead due to Jimmy. Living in Long Island, did you ever meet him as he lived and died there? No, I never did meet Jimmy Buffett. Nope. Did meet Jerry Garcia. I've met Bob Weir a couple of times. Those are stories for another day. Let's see who's got some some questions. Let's go to breaking news. The jury system is being abolished in favor of Redditors becoming the finders of fact. That is great. Pickle Nuts, I agree. Judge Carroll is epic at controlling his temper. You know what's so great about him is that he knew when his head might pop off. And he has the self-awareness enough to know that he would say, you know what, we're going to take 5 minutes. And he would go in the back and he would do some deep breathing or whatever he needed to do to get back in there and not explode, because I would have exploded. I could never be a judge. I couldn't do it. Not that I couldn't be fair, but I would explode at some of the stuff that was going on in that courtroom. Beth says there's plenty of random S's in these notes that are sharper angles. His handwriting seems to mix both harder and softer S's. Yeah. Listen, they were sitting there for 8 hours a day for 9 weeks. This hand could have been tired. It could mean a million different things. But I certainly would not jump to the conclusion that he was a white supremacist, Nazi, hater, sympathizer, thought Sally Smith was not. Like, this is just really, you guys, crossing a line. It's crossing a line. Jules, I'm not sure what that was. I have questions. How are we sure Hippo Lover is even jury number 1's wife? Well, because they said that in their motion. And I think it's been confirmed. I believe. But how did they know it is the question, right? How did they know it? Because they had a lot of people working for them on the side. They had a lot of people infiltrating chats. We had a couple of them in here very early on, and Miss Donna Marie, my queen of mods, knew who she was and said, this person starts trouble with everybody. And she did. She tried. But we blocked her on day one. She was in a lot of chats in Law and Crime. We've learned since that she may be the partner of one of the attorneys on the defense team. We're not quite sure, but maybe they're household companions. I don't know. Nancy, I'm so hoping the judge has a short fuse on Friday and lets the snakes on the defense team know they've overstepped their boundaries. I mean, there is a way to make this argument in a classy way. And when we went over their motion initially, I did give them points on certain arguments that I thought that they may have a shot at, having some of the numbers reduced with regard to past medical bills and perhaps future medical bills and some things that may be reduced. But this is just beyond. It's just beyond. And I think, now that we see more of juror number one's notes, we can see it gives the judge even more ammunition to not reduce the verdict because these questions were so well reasoned, because it shows the thought process of how he was coming to his decisions and how he was listening to the testimony. And I think it helps. I think it helps uphold the numbers in this case. Jacqueline, when will they be back in court? They will be back in court on Friday to talk about these motions. And discussing these motions, discussing the motions and orally arguing the motions. And I don't know if the judge is going to rule from the bench or he's going to take it under advisement. I don't know if he's going to publicly sanction the defense firm. We're going to have to see. LA, I'm thinking of posting on that Reddit. So many lawyers thought defense's motion was ridiculous. All of LawTube and some I asked, is it possible that you are all just wrong? Yeah, I just don't know. Amanda, uncivil law discussion, no matter either diagnosis, they didn't, treatment was not given for mental health, so med mal at least. I would have to think about that a little bit more, but there's a lot of negligence there. And I think a lot of the causes of action could stand. My opinion. Dominique, I think it's terrible to attack one juror consistently after the trial, especially when they were told not to approach the jurors by the judge. This feels like harassment. Just a little bit. Feels a little bit by harassment. Danielle, this amount may have been a lot. However, it needed to send a message. This was an opportunity for all patients. Absolutely, absolutely was. Just Mimi says, I didn't think these questions were for either side. They were just for more information. Right. Angela, so glad we get to watch on Friday. Thank you, Laura, so much for your super chat. Judge Carroll has not addressed IJ. Still, I'm concerned he won't put a hard stop to this. Was hoping for an emergency hearing. Mel, honest thoughts. An emergency hearing with regard to the IJ? I think he's going to address all of it. And today's what? Tuesday? I'm hoping he's going to put a hard stop to this. I do think he will. I do think so. I think that he gets it. He gets it. I mean, that's one thing that you can say about Judge Carroll is that he gets it. He really does. So I think he's going to do the right thing. Debbie, thank you for your super chat. Weird how the handwriting gets more sloppy as he writes, just like every other human being on the planet. Yep. Yes, I agree with that as well. KL, what authority did Hunter have to try and ship Maya out of state? That's an excellent question. And I'm so glad that you asked that because during the course of the trial, the jury was not allowed to know that Howard Hunter and Ethan Shapiro were in real time in dependency court in 2016 after Beata took her own life, fighting to have Maya transferred to an out-of-state facility, inpatient psychiatric hospital, or an out-of-state medical foster care home where she would receive outpatient psychiatric treatment. The hospital was a non-party to that action a non-party? So that's a really great question. I don't think he had any authority to be arguing that. I don't think he had standing. He was not a party to the action in the dependency court, and yet he was there in real time arguing that Maya should be transferred out of state after her mother was out of the picture. When JHACH's entire argument to the dependency court was that this must be medical child abuse. We need to keep her away from her mom. Even after her mom was gone, they still went in there and they made those arguments. And that's a disgrace. So yeah, thank you for the question. I have a very strong opinion about that. And it's not very complimentary, as you can see. Jam Jar, I'm so glad that Maya was brought up with such strength to guide her through this. God bless great parents. God bless Beata, the precious mother who lives on. She does. And we looked yesterday at an interview that Maya did this week, and she looks so grown up. She just turned 18, and she looks a lot like her mom. A lot like her mom. Oh, thank you, Shauna Banana, for becoming a new member. Oh, Erica, we already looked at that one with my crazy New York accent. Thank you. Patricia Armstrong for becoming a member. And Fuzzy Dogsy, welcome to Melanie's Little Cupcakes. I wanted to take a look also at the Florida bar ethics rule that they refer to. Since we are here, and I pulled it up, and we can look at it together. Okay. This is Florida Bar Rule 4-8.4 about misconduct. This is the ethics code that all lawyers in Florida must adhere to. A lawyer shall not. There are several things before we get to the section that we're interested in, but let's just read them. A lawyer shall not, A, violate or attempt to violate the rules of professional conduct, knowingly assist or induce another to do so, or do so through the acts of another. B, commit a criminal act that reflects adversely on the lawyer's honesty, trustworthiness, or fitness as a lawyer in other respects. So that is an interesting thing to note, that if a lawyer is convicted of a crime that goes to honesty, trustworthiness, or fitness as a lawyer, it could even be a drunk driving charge. You could be suspended from the practice of law. You could be disbarred for committing a criminal act that may have nothing to do with your role as an attorney, but you can be suspended and or disbarred from the practice of law for being convicted of a felony. C, engage in conduct involving dishonesty, fraud, deceit, or misrepresentation, except that it shall not be professional misconduct for a lawyer, for a criminal law enforcement agency or regulatory agency to advise others about or to supervise another in an undercover investigation unless prohibited by law or rule, and it shall not be professional misconduct for a lawyer employed in a capacity other than as a lawyer by a criminal law enforcement agency or regulatory agency to participate in an undercover investigation unless prohibited by law or rule. And here is the one that the plaintiff is pointing to as a reason to sanction the defense firm. A lawyer shall not. D, engage in conduct in connection with the practice of law that is prejudicial to the administration of justice, including to knowingly or through callous indifference disparage, humiliate, or discriminate against litigants, jurors, witnesses, court personnel, or other lawyers on any basis, including but not limited to on account of race, ethnicity, gender, religion, national origin, disability, marital status, sexual orientation, age, socioeconomic status, employment, or physical characteristic. That is a catch-all provision that applies to jurors specifically. And attorneys know that. And that is why, my friends, that is why this personal attack against juror number 1 is just outside the confines of what a respectable lawyer would do, in my own personal opinion, of course. Let's see. Did anybody come into the chat who's from the other side that wanted to ask a question? Thank you, Don Burke, for your super chat. I can't believe what our court system has come to. Our forefathers are rolling in their graves. This is America. This is America. And God bless America. But this frightens, a lot of things are frightening me right now in what's going on in this country. This is something that frightens me because I just don't see who's going to want to serve on a jury. Who's going to want to serve on a jury if the defense firm can potentially ask the judge for you to hand over your cell phone, your Google search history, your social media accounts? It's just abhorrent and egregious. Both of those things. Both of those things are true. Oh, here comes all the Kurt people. Hello, Gamer Ducko. Hello, Shiraz. Hello, Patty Cakes. You guys missed it all, but we're here for you. We're here for questions. Hello, uncivilians. Welcome, welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. We had been ported to you. Did Kurt send you over here? Oh, he did send you? Did he say? Or did he redirect? Thank you, Kurt. I appreciate that. I didn't know you were doing this. Well, we usually disagree on most things, I think, but I think we both agree on this. So, if you ever want to do something with me, I'll do it as long as you don't yell at me. I'm afraid of you. No, I'm just kidding. I can hold my own. But really, no, I would welcome it. I actually respect your knowledge of case law, common law, Supreme Court rulings, and all of that good stuff that I didn't really pay attention to in law school, because as a frustrated actor all the way back then, I just wanted to be on trial. I just wanted to be in the courtroom. I just wanted to be performing for a jury. So, I did not pay so much attention to the Supreme Court cases like that you were talking about as such the other day. And so I think that you've got an excellent take on that stuff. And I think you've crowned yourself king in that area of LawTube. And I would say, I'll go with that. I will go with that. All right. So my friends, let's see. Does anybody have a question? Do we have anybody who's willing to argue the other side? Let us see. Carrie Castor, thank you for chiming in. In my opinion, I feel that juror number one was using his training as an officer to ask the great questions. The lawyers are out of line and need to be reprimanded. Yes, this cannot be allowed to happen. This cannot be allowed to happen. And before this trial and during this trial, and I am gung-ho about jury duty. I am so gung-ho about jury duty that I told everyone to go watch that show, Jury Duty, on Amazon Prime. And if you haven't, it's hilarious. It's about a guy who thinks he's going on jury duty, but everyone else in the courthouse is an actor. The judge, the jurors, the lawyers, the court officers, everyone in that courthouse is an actor, and it's sort of like a candid camera show, but it's really heartwarming and it's hilarious. But I have always touted jury duty to all of you. It's the most important thing you could do. It's so interesting. Imagine you're getting to decide, case. It's so interesting. I've always wanted to sit on a jury. I never get picked because I'm a lawyer. They don't want me on the jury. And most of the time I go to jury duty and I know the lawyers. So they're like, Melanie, just, go home. But I would love to. I would love to be a fly on a wall in a jury room. Now, if this is not squashed, this conduct by a law firm, I wouldn't want to serve on a jury. Who's volunteering for that job? After this, juror number one, I don't want you to answer this question, but I am thinking, if juror number one had to do this all over again, would he still do it? And you know what? I think he would, because he's tougher than we are. That's what I think. That's what I think. So think about that. Think about the chilling effect that this could have on people wanting to serve on juries. In Shapiro's closing, he talked about the chilling effect that this would have on mandatory reporters. If you send a big verdict out, this will have a chilling effect on mandatory reporting. No, this is going to have a chilling effect on people wanting to go serve on a jury for $17 a day. and miss 9 weeks of work and time with their family. That's what this is going to have a chilling effect on. And that's on them. That's on Hill Ward Henderson. And I'm saying it, not afraid to say it. Kim says conversion disorder is a neurological disorder where a person has physical sensations like sensory problems, blindness, pain, all the neurological things. Hope says, yeah, Judge Carroll's rulings will be in writing. Okay, so he's going to reserve decision and not rule from the bench. Okay. JFS said Beata calling them all Nazis was proof of mental health issues. Wow. Hey, pot, meet kettle, right? Interesting. Very interesting. Jen Joe, defense docs, Juror 1 and wife brought up allegations in an old situation, which apparently were unfounded, or he wouldn't have remained in law enforcement, and then made accusations about his S's. Yes, you are properly restating the facts of what has happened here. That is correct. Hello, Mark. Mark Blaine says it's what the flying monkeys do. They steal your child and your little dog, too. Mm-hmm. Yes, Nathan, thanks for coming in. Maya did turn 18. I believe it was 2 days ago. We did say happy birthday to her last night on the stream, so if she's watching, Maya, happy birthday. You made it. You're 18. You can go to Dr. Kave's clinic in San Francisco if you like, because he's got K therapy if you want to. Not recommending that you do, but you can. And Dr. Kave, who did a video on medical gaslighting that so many of you sent to me, came on my channel and we did a show together about medical gaslighting, and it's fascinating. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. He's one of the kindest doctors that I've ever known. He's amazing. And he does actually have a K therapy clinic in San Francisco. And he uses K therapy for a lot of things, not just chronic pain disorders, but also for depression, anxiety, alcoholism, drug addiction, and it has its uses. In fact, when I was I got a little blurb today on this little app on my phone about the news, and there was an article that's in Harper's Bazaar, and it was all about K therapy being like the new thing among all the chic elites, and how it's, psychedelics and K therapy are like the new thing. So it's out there in fashion magazines even. Atticus, has anyone heard anything about an interview that Shapiro did this week on a Patreon episode of a podcast? I can't remember the name of the podcast. I have not, so I cannot guide you further on that. Mozzie66 says, Juror 1, can you imagine the absolute chaos that the defense would have made if they got their grubby hands on your actual trial notes? OMG. I think those actually were shredded, right? Crow Red Eye, so who was he representing? I don't know what that refers to. Nancy said, oh my God, I don't know. They tried to do that to Maya. How do any of these attorneys sleep at night? They're all having nightmares now. I don't know if they're having nightmares now. I don't know. You know what? I think they can sleep pretty easily. I just think so, because how could you file papers like this against a juror doing his civic duty and be able to sleep at night? I don't know. I think it takes a certain sort of personality to even want to do that, and then to pull this whole Nazi conspiracy thread directly from Reddit. We looked at it. Hope always says, yes, his 5-minute breaks were so smart. It's what I tell my kids, take 5 and come back when you've calmed down. Yep. It's like a timeout. It's like a judicial timeout. That's it. I'm taking 5, guys. I'm going to go in the back. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to put on the rain sounds in my headphones, and I'm going to try and relax for 5 minutes and wish I was anywhere but here. And then I'm going to come back and deal with you. Right? Any questions in the chat for me? And why was the jury not allowed to know they tried to send her out of state? Because everything in the dependency court hearing was protected under Chapter 39 immunity in Florida. which says that none of that stuff was allowed into this case because everything that happens in dependency court with regard to allegations of child abuse and or sheltering proceedings are privileged and cannot be brought into this case. So the jury didn't get to hear anything about that. Yep. Snivels trying to ship her thousands of miles away and make it more difficult on the family. That's exactly right. Georgina, these people are so evil. OMG. OMG. Yes, Becca Lynn, that's my argument as well. What right did Hunter have or any rep from the hospital have at any of the shelter hearings? They were just the shelter. That is right. They were just the shelter. They were a non-party to the action. They did not have standing. I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure why the judge allowed them to come in and argue as if they were some sort of party, but they did. Whiskey Scam Baiter, Shapiro's wife, is in the Reddit group. So that, brings up another question. We haven't seen or heard from Shapiro lately. I don't think his name's been on any of these papers. Are they trying to have him take the fall for this whole thing? Were these his ideas? I don't know. I'm just asking a question. If anybody knows anything, because if you are on Reddit, you might know. Can Hunter be sued? Not under the litigation privilege in Florida. The litigation, but I don't think it. There may be bounds to that, and I would think that if juror number 1 did want to proceed in any sort of proceeding against the law firm, he would need to speak to a Florida attorney who specializes in those types of cases. And because of litigation privilege or absolute litigation immunity, which I don't think, by the way, is boundless, I do not know. The answer is I do not know, but as always, consult with a lawyer in your jurisdiction. Rain Man, thank you for your super chat. They drafted the supplement in a pentagram of candles to summon their next partner. That deserves to stay up for a few minutes because that is really, really funny. Uh-huh. Laura, I think Melanie read your super chat, did I? Unless you put another one up here. Laura, thank you. I understand they have oral argument. Why can't he rule Friday? Why? In writing, man, I cannot wait to hear the defense argue this because, I'm sorry, just a little chapstick. My lips are dry. Because this is going to be more grounds for an appeal. And therefore, it needs to be well-reasoned. It needs to be in writing. It needs to have case law attached to it. And the judge knows that this is going to be just another thing for them to appeal. So he needs to do it in writing. He needs to dot his I's and cross his T's, and he will. Now, if he's going to sanction the law firm or reprimand them publicly and tell them to stop doing what he's doing, he could do that from the bench, and I would like him to do that from the bench. And thank you, Uncivil Law, for saying that I have nice eyes. Thank you so much for your super chat. What do you think, Kurt? Do you think he's going to rule from the bench at all? He's going to say anything from the bench? I think he's going to have to spank them publicly a little bit. I think this warrants it without a 5-minute timeout. Like, he's going to have to say something, I think. Dawn, thank you for your super chat. As a mom and a grandmom, no, we are where are parent rights? Where we are the parents. We protected our kids. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. It's crazy town, you guys. I say to you all the time. That's why I come live sometimes. Like, just tell me, talk me down. Am I in the Twilight Zone? Am I in the Twilight Zone? Because this should not happen. This should not happen. Erica, he should sanction them for this and for ignoring other orders like the IJ reports. Yeah. What happened there? It's like, we didn't really feel like it. And then when Greg Anderson did an interview, and I don't remember if this was on Dr. Joe's channel or somebody else's channel, he said they took the boxes of all the documents with them after the trial. And then when Greg said, where are those boxes we want? They said, what do you need them now for? Why do you need them now? So I don't know. It kind of feels like I'm in the Twilight Zone sometimes, a lot of times. Gamer Ducko, hello. Thank you for your super chat. Judge Carroll to the defense. I'm not mad, just disappointed. Oh my God. Isn't that always the worst thing your parents could say to you? Not mad at you. You've just really disappointed me. That is makes a child feel worse about what they did than if you were just really mad and yelling at them. So I see what you're doing there. I see what you're doing there. And thank you so much for that. Shiraz. It's like he just decided to chuck his entire career with that filing. I don't know. Is he retiring anyway? He's just like, WTF? I don't care. Like, I'm going to go out with it. I'm going out in flames, everybody. I'm going out in flames. Great Dane Mom says, bring the boxes. Bring the boxes. Sharon, oh, sorry. I'm sorry that you have chronic pain and chronic illness. I'm so sorry about that. James Rinkovich, he needs to refer C. Howard Hunter to the bar for this and what he did in the underlying dependency case where he argued for lies and perjury. Yeah. But remember what Sally Smith said during the prompt. It's not my job. It's not my job to give Dr. Kirkpatrick's records confirming the CRPS. It's not my job. It's the other attorney's job. Georgina, most parents who abuse their kids don't take them to doctors. Yeah. Yeah. And look, I am sure that Dr. Sally Smith has investigated many cases of legitimate child abuse where children are beaten, shaken, tortured. And that does happen. And I'm sure, Hansa, that does happen. But when you make a false allegation against a parent, accusing a parent of a psychiatric disorder when you are a children's hospital and you are not equipped or you are not, what's the word I'm looking for? You are not, you can't give that opinion. You're a children's hospital. There's nobody on your staff that is authorized to give that opinion or diagnose an adult. So when you diagnose an adult with a psychiatric disorder and use that as the basis for taking a child away from her parents, that's also outside the confines, in my opinion. Yes, Cindy RN, the hospital has other suits in the wings they're fighting besides this. Yes, one of them is the case of Elena Kushner, who came in and testified at trial. She gave a, yeah, all right. Okay, on civil law. Are you going to come on and be nice to me? Promise? How do I send you the link? It's a StreamYard link. Hold on. Let me see if I can do this. I don't think I have your email or anything, do I? Yes, he says he's going to be nice. All right, you guys heard it here first. Good night, Scott. Thank you. Kurt has his nice hat on. All right, hang on. All right, if I go to your channel, can I find your email and then send you the link through there? Hang on one second. Talk amongst yourselves, everybody. Talk amongst yourselves. Talk amongst yourselves. Oh, Miss Donna Marie, can you go on to his channel and get his email, say that you're not a robot and then just text it to me? And then he's in a singing mood. He's in a singing mood. Yes, invite uncivil law into your stream. Okay, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. As soon as I get it, I'll send you the link. All right, let's see. Uncivil law. Yep. This is going to be epic. Oh, make him sing before he can join. Oh, people think you're kind of sweet. All right. They say you're kind of sweet. All right, let's see. Yep, and you wouldn't take away one child and not the other. That is absolutely true. Let me see if I can get in here. Oh, I see it. Okay. All right. Hold on, because now I got to open my email. It's like a whole big thing because I've been told I have too many tabs open all the time. And that is the problem. And that's why my stream glitches. So we'll see. We'll see if you get this. It's going to be fun, you guys. All right. All right. It's coming at you. Coming in hot. All right. Let's see if Kurt comes in. Let's see if Kurt comes in, if he's going to sing to us. And this will be epic. We've never met. We've never met. He's lurked in my chat. I've lurked in his chat. He said something the other day that I thought was so funny. I gave him an idea for a t-shirt that said something like, something about you doing something since 4th grade, stalking like Supreme Court cases since the 4th grade. I can't even remember what it was now. I hope you wrote it down so that you could use it in. Oh, here he is. All right. You promise you're going to be nice to me? Give me a thumbs up if you're going to be nice to me. Okay. Oh my God. We meet in person.
Hello.
Oh, now I got to put this stupid thing in because I wasn't listening to any. I didn't have my headpiece in. Hold on. Because I had nobody else on but me.
We're all good.
Dun, dun, dun. I'm technologically not very savvy, as people will tell you.
You're all good, man.
Oh wow, man, dude. Cool. All right. So what do you think about this? We try and keep it classy on the show. I don't like the cursey words. So I know you're gonna have to try and, maybe just filter, a little filter. But if I ever wanted to curse, this would have been the time.
Yeah, Johns options conduct, particularly with respect to their slanted S's motion, is I've run out of adjectives to describe how much I detest it and how, in my view, it is deplorable, sanctionable, disciplinary worthy. I pray if the Florida bar has any integrity, they'll at least consider a private reprimand. I know I'm asking for not much, but yeah. I'm hoping Judge Carroll might actually send it along. That would be really nice. That tends to get a little bit more attention. But
that he'll refer to their grievance committee or whatever. Yeah.
It is so. It puts a very unhappy feeling in my stomach that I can literally feel. It's like this very visceral action, like my stomach literally turns sour. It is so disgusting, especially based on these facts.
Yeah.
Of the slanted S's.
Yeah, I heard you saying the other night when I was watching your stream that it made you feel dirty, and I was like, "Yeah." I said the same thing. Like the night that I first read this, this makes me embarrassed to be a lawyer, and this is why people hate lawyers, and it's just gross. It does. It makes you feel dirty. It's just gross. Like, would you ever, in your wildest imagination, file something like this?
No, because I don't do things that are frivolous and injurious to the practice of law and to the courts, and also injurious to future jurors who might take note of this and be like, well, I don't want to be a juror because I might be jurored one. It's the new Me Too, I guess. Yeah. So we're causing literal injury to the entire corpus of the legal establishment in Florida. Just great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what is the name of their law firm? I think I said the wrong word. Is whatever their law firm is, may have single-handedly brought down the jury system. Like, everyone's going to use this as an excuse now when they go in for jury duty, right? It's not like, oh, I can't take off of work, I can't, whatever. It's going to be like, oh, I watched that Maya Kowalski trial, I saw what happened to that juror number 1, and there's no way in hell I want to be on a jury.
That's exactly why.
Yeah.
The lawyers need to be disciplined by the bar. I know it's asking for a lot, but I would love a public reprimand. I love them to be brought before the Florida Supreme Court and admonished in open court about how very, very bad they are. Because
And
that's the only thing that's going to restore any confidence to this.
yeah. I mean, asking the judge to demand that juror number 1 and his wife turn their cell phones over? Like, are you kidding me? Like, who even came what, did that come from Reddit too? Because you know that the whole Nazi symbolism thing came directly from a Reddit page. I pulled it up the other day. I was like, "What?"
It certainly appears that way, yes. They're
Mhm.
getting their legal tips from Reddit. That's just fantastic.
Yeah, their theories. All their theories are coming straight out of the conspirators. You're a cupcake now. So Chantal, thank you for the super chat.
But I thought you're not a cupcake.
I'm not a cupcake because I can't make everyone happy. I'll switch you so you don't have the cupcake on your head. But I make my members happy. They make me happy. So therefore, to each
Okay,
other, we are cupcakes because cupcakes make everybody happy.
fair enough.
But you know, like I
I
have opinions and I'm not afraid to share them, just like you do.
Absolutely. You just need to give it an intellectually honest assessment of what you think
Mhm.
and try to remain open-minded.
Yeah.
And we had the Chad and I had like a 20-minute conversation at one point, for example, on the medical negligence claim. Because it's like, I just don't really see it. And they kept offering ideas, and for a while, none of them were working.
Mhm.
And then, somewhere in the exchange, they presented an idea. I'm like, oh, that works. And we talked about it a little bit more. And as I thought about more, I'm like, okay, you've actually switched me on my thought process because you've made
Mhm.
argument I understand. And that's wonderful
Yeah.
when you're trying to, actually reason this out.
Yeah. I mean, I said from the beginning of this case that I thought it was going to be very, very difficult to connect her independent act of unaliving herself, to the hospital, to a duty, to a breach that was owed to her. And I thought that was going to be a tenuous claim and that it would be it's not a claim that could fly in New York, right? It's a
No,
case of first impression in Florida. And
it's
I
a case of
always thought
first
that was,
impression anywhere, as far as I
yeah,
know.
real tough.
Yeah.
So,
So we have an actual causality problem.
yeah.
And so this probably winds up with the Florida Supreme Court. And I figure like you have to redo the odds on the probability of them ruling one way or the other just based on John Hopkins' conduct in trial court. Because, you know, the courts don't really like being messed around with. They want you to
Mhm.
behave like a civilized person, in a professional decorum. And this sort of, you know, this table of Algonquin table or some sort of discussion where we actually have, an exchange of learned people.
Mhm.
And I imagine both the Court of Appeals and the Florida Supreme Court might take note of Johns Hopkins' actions in multiple different ways. And
Mhm.
you have to rescore the probability of them winning on this legal issue just based on
Their own conduct and lack of
flagrant
decorum.
conduct.
Like, we're
Yeah.
supposed to have some decorum, right?
Yeah.
You're supposed to uphold, a certain standard as an attorney, when you swear in and you practice, and you're supposed to be, the legal barometer that people trust and want to confide in and counsel. They
Preach.
want you to counsel them, right? And
Yeah.
and and you're supposed to avoid the appearance of impropriety. This is one of the most improper things that I have ever seen.
I agree. I agree. And the only other thing which blew my mind arguably more than this, not for its reprehensibility, but just for the inherent illogic of it, was when Johns Hopkins lawyers were objecting to plaintiff asking for a reduction in damages.
Mhm.
Because I'm like, now you're taking a position that's adverse to your own client, right? You serve the client, which supposedly is why you're writing this Juror 1 memorandum garbage, in some theory, and your client has been ordered by the jury pay $5 million, and plaintiff is over here like, how about $1?
Right.
And you're actually objecting to it
Mhm.
and saying they can't ask for us to pay less. They can't ask that we pay less. So that's the only other thing that is more confusing to me, because how is that not like just directly adverse to your client's interests?
Yeah, it's almost like they're taking it so personally.
Yeah.
that they forgot who their client was or who they represent. It's like almost like a personal affront to them, which is so weird, in my opinion. I mean, as a plaintiff's lawyer, and that's my area of practice, I would always take my clients' cases very personally, but not to the point where I forgot who my client was,
Well,
and
I mean,
advocating for my client.
yeah, I mean, a lawyer's obligation is to act zealously. You don't necessarily have to get personally involved.
Mhm.
And one of the benefits of having a lawyer is a little bit of distance because you get a bit of a perspective as who someone who might be able to see a different picture.
Right.
So I probably would be less personally interested, but that's always in service to the client. So that's fine.
Mhm. Well, I'm an empath, so, I absorb other people's emotions like my own. I took on the Catholic Church on behalf of like 50 or 60 victims of clergy sex abuse, and all those cases were
Well, see,
outside the statute of limitations in New York,
I,
so
I appreciate that, but you can just go with the logic of sexual assault is bad.
yeah. No,
You
true,
should
true, yeah.
you shouldn't do that.
No, yeah, that's a bad thing to do. Yeah, and then shuffle them around and then, let them keep molesting more people, and that's great.
Yeah.
Um, who's got some questions for Kurt?
Okay.
Let's see, I don't know. What do you think's gonna happen with regard to you think they'll be sanctioned monetarily? You think, he'll just refer it to the here
My
in New York, we have
expectation
the grievance committee, so I don't know what they call it
yeah.
in Florida, but nobody wants that. Like, nobody wants that
My
as a
expectations are
lawyer.
so low because the faffing around that has been done in this case is truly unfathomable. Like 15 motions for the iCloud data, or apologize,
Mhm.
15 hearings, 35 motions, 52 summary judgment orders. That doesn't make any sense. The IJ has never been produced. That doesn't make any sense. So it's obvious that the judges that have touched this have not been enforcing their orders.
Mm,
And Johns Hopkins conduct has been getting worse and worse and worse because no one's stopping them. No one's
yeah.
putting them in the penalty box with the whacking stick. The whacking stick is your friend.
Mhm.
So,
Well, there
I would have lost my patience long ago and I would have defaulted these guys long ago
mhm.
based on this stuff. It's nonsense.
Well, I mean, like, that's what I tell my kids, like, you need ramifications for your behavior. If you grow up a nepo baby and you never have ramifications for your behavior, and, that's why some of these guys get away with the things that they do because they never get caught and they never get in trouble, and then, it's just keep pushing the boundaries
Yeah.
is, like, what they did.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah, like the phones were dropped in acid or they're just all lost. I'm like, there's no way on this earth. First of all, it's cloud data, so your phone's being lost is immaterial. And second of all, I don't even believe the phones were lost. There's no way 15 phones get lost. So
yeah.
that's whereas I as judge is like show cause. And you produce the 15 declarations. I'm like, yeah, still don't believe you.
Hmm.
So I'm just going to start issuing sanctions till you give me the thing.
Mhm. Yep. Hope always says uncivil law. Everyone seems afraid to say that. I agree. There are no consequences. I just don't get it. But I think that's why there has to be in this case because it's not just about them anymore. And it's not even just about Maya anymore. This is about the entire jury system.
And has
It
been
really
well
is.
pointed out, attorneys like Girardi and Murdaugh, because of
Mhm.
their larger than life personas, got away with so much. I particularly liked where Girardi was directly interfering with the bar review committees and making
Mm.
sure that by direct action they wouldn't take action against them. I thought that was a nice touch.
Hey, I guess you got to do what you can.
Yeah.
I find this unbelievable, and I think
It's
he's
okay. He
really
only
got to do
stole a quarter
something.
$1 billion from the client. No big deal.
Yeah, no big what. Well, that's more than Murdoch, right?
I
Rain
think
Man.
Bird only stole like $30 million from the client. He wasn't in Girardi territory.
Yeah, true. That's what I mean. So, maybe
Yeah.
Murdoch shouldn't get such a bad punishment. Rain Man, thank you for your super chat. The boo box needs to be a thing in the legal system.
Yeah.
There's one person in the chat who says, I'll still serve. Recovery chat says, I'll still serve on a jury. These hacks don't scare me.
Fair.
Good. It's good. You're stronger than most people. I think most people are gonna be like, no thanks, I don't need this. Kurt, perfect pink background for your Barbie Girl song. Oh, okay. You're going to sing for us because we'll do this again. You know what? I'll even give you the floor. You want to sing?
I can. I mean, I did Barbie Girl earlier on my own stream, but if you want to do it, I'll do it for you.
Okay. You can do it for me. Go ahead.
I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Life is plastic. It's fantastic. You can brush my hair, undress me everywhere. Imagination, life is your creation. I'm a blonde bimbo girl in a fantasy world. Dress it up, make it tight. I'm your dolly. Yo, go rock and roll. You're a fabulous thing. Touch me here. Feel me, feel me there. Hanky panky. You can touch. You can play. If you say I'm always yours. Oh, whoa, whoa.
At what point do I get the hook? Or the gong?
Why would you get the hook? My
No,
singing
that was
is so
amazing. Wait, look
it's
what
so
Jason says.
fantastic and glorious.
Did you see the movie? Did you see the Barbie movie?
I did not see the movie, no.
Oh my God, Margot Robbie is like on fire. You have to go see that movie. It was really
I
great.
still haven't seen Oppenheimer either, so I haven't seen either one.
Well, I didn't see Oppenheimer, but I did happily go see Barbie. I haven't seen the Taylor Swift movie either, but so many of these, like the Golden Globes noms came out yesterday, and so many of these movies are not even, you can't even see them. So I don't know. I watched the movie about the end of the world yesterday on Netflix with Julia Roberts, which was kind of interesting, where all the self-driving Teslas just crash. And do you watch regular TV or do you just watch YouTube?
I do not. I've not had regular TV for many years. I just watch streaming content, and I'm better for it.
Really? So who are your favorite YouTubers to watch?
I like Many a True Nerd. He does gaming content. He plays like Fallout and stuff like that. And I also like Grand Pooh Bear, who does Mario Maker streaming. And I like I watch a lot of law-related content, as you would expect, from various members of LawTube. And I'm trying to think who else I watch regularly. Vsauce is good. He does like scientific reporting that's very good in his style. Those are names that come to mind.
So you do go to the movies though. You just don't watch regular TV.
I haven't been to a movie in a while. I'm trying to remember the last movie I saw in the theaters. I think it was Top Gun. The new Top Gun was the last movie I saw in the theaters.
Oh, the new Top Gun. That was good. I saw it on an airplane, but I think it was probably so much better on the big screen. What about music? Do you go to concerts?
Not concerts these days.
This is Get to Know Kurt night, everyone.
Not concerts as much. Austin has a great music scene.
Is that where you live in Austin?
I do live in Austin, Texas, yes. And it has a great music scene. And sometimes I'll just pop into random bars, especially like downtown, because they'll just have people playing. They tend to be really, really good, incidentally. Yeah. And you can just like, especially if you're on 6th Street, you can just hop from bar to bar to bar, because 6th Street is one of the streets where there's nothing but bars and they're all right next to each other for like, you know, a substantial distance, and they close the street at nights. Yeah. So people can walk around with the horse patrol by the cops and everything. And you can just literally go from bar to bar to bar and listen to great music. It's fantastic. That is brilliant. It's a college town too, which is, you know, even more fun. It makes it more fun. I lived in Boulder for a long time. That's why I went to college in Boulder, and Boulder is a really fun town too. Kurt is Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court certified. Yep, it's right there. How does one become U.S. Supreme Court certified? And have you actually argued in front of the U.S. Supreme Court? I have not, because that would be an awesome honor. It's a very small club, and there's a lot of repeat players. But as memory serves, I think you have to be a lawyer for 5 or 10 years. I forget what the requirement is, and I think you have to have 2 members of the bar put your name forward. Sponsor you? Yeah, sponsor you. And I forget if there's any other requirements. It's been a while. Wow. That's very interesting, but you know, he passed the bar twice. I did. I'll sponsor you. I'll sponsor you that we can both go to DC in person. All right, and that's cool. I'll introduce you to the practice, and you can get sworn. It'll be great. That'll be fun now that everything's in person anymore. So all those poor kids that had to get admitted to the bar during COVID, that had to do it like on Zoom, that didn't get to go to like a real thing. Okay, here's a question for both of us. At what point during the case did you realize the defendants had no case? I wasn't watching super closely. I only got in sort of at the end of the thing. Oh yeah. So I've been learning more and more about it as it goes along. But so yeah.
Yeah, I'm
And
trying to
like,
think.
I think I certainly think you can be critical of the amounts of the jury to some degree, although Johns Hopkins asks are just absolutely ridiculous.
Mhm.
So if they come up with a more reasonable number, they be more likely. But how about half a percent? Like,
Mhm.
so they're asking for $100 an hour. You're asking for 50 cents an hour. Those seem like not a great place to start. Maybe something more reasonable.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
I thought their argument of comparing the cases to the tobacco litigation was kind of silly. That was like apples and oranges. But I also thought that a lot of the past medical expenses numbers were going to be reduced or overturned. There wasn't a lot of evidence there. Some of those numbers weren't really justified, I thought, and that was my opinion. I think they had no case because my opinion from the beginning was they set the wheels in motion for this whole thing to happen. Whether they
Mm,
thought Sally Smith was an agent of JHACH or not, it was that second call, I think, the
mm.
DCF that did him in my opinion, as
Yeah, it
always.
wasn't the call, it was everything else because they were
Mhm.
acting outside of the scope of their authority. And
Yeah.
like any authority, you have to act within it. So they made their calls, fine. They got a court order from the dependency court, fine, but they went in excess of that, like as pointed out by the motions from the attorneys for Maya. It's like, look, the court said, among other things, you're supposed to do FaceTime calls twice a day, and you didn't allow any calls. So
Hmm.
that's illegal. You can't do that.
Right.
So you're actually defying court order. You can't do that. That's not an option. And holding her for 7 days. It's like, okay, apparently the laws you can hold her for 24 hours while you go get your emergency order.
Right.
Okay, 24 hours and 1 minute, you got to let them out the door.
Yeah.
So you can't do that. That's illegal. I mean, it's telling Maya that her mother was in the psychiatric ward, and that Betty was her new mother now. That's
Mm.
that's pretty inflammatory as we consider the ordinary, average, prudent 10-year-old and how they would interpret that information. That seems something that would be a little bit beyond the pale for that IIED. And as the
Yeah.
mother is learning about this and all the other stuff, there's a lot of stuff there too. So yeah.
Yeah, not letting them leave AMA, which they were well within their rights to do, within the first week is really got me as well. Like, it doesn't matter whether you agree with the mother's treatment of her daughter or not, and I'm sure a lot of us disagree with the amounts of K that she may or may not have been getting, but it was under a doctor's order. And listen, once you start messing with parental rights, I got I got a major problem with that. And
No,
I
I don't
think,
particularly. I don't among JHACH's many sins. I don't particularly fault them for discounting the CRPS diagnosis. I don't particularly fault them for refusing ketamine. But it's like they don't want to take a firm position because everything logically flows from its
mhm,
premises. So, like for an example, like as they pointed out in their motion earlier today, when they went through the 80-page motion or 89 pages or whatever it is, it's like, all right, let's assume for the sake of argument that they didn't need the father's permission to put Maya into the observation room. Let's assume for the moment that the observation was part of a reasonable medical diagnostic test to see if she was reasonable, if she really was undergoing this or if she was faking it, and it was designed for that purpose. Okay, I'm that far. And then it's like, okay, if that's true, why isn't the records of that in the medical record? Why is there no reports in the record relating to the observations? Why isn't there no, like, well, we observed this, and this, and here's our findings? Why is there none of that in the records?
yeah,
So the conclusions that should follow from the premise aren't there, which then undermines the premise,
mhm,
right? Because it's
yeah,
like this should follow logically, and it's not there. Or the photographs they took of Maya. Okay, we're doing it for medical purposes to diagnose a skin condition. Okay, premise accepted. Then conclusion. Why is it not in the medical records? Why is there no reports of a skin test? Why are they not here? Why are they only in the file for risk assessment? Seems like it's not for a medical purpose.
mhm,
So it undermines the conclusion. They don't seem to understand how logic works. It's very, very annoying to me because I'm a very logical guy and I don't like it very
mhm.
much.
Right. And you could see by reading the exhibits to this response today, all of juror number one's questions, how well reasoned his questions were. And he got it. He was getting it all along. So I mean, I think that those questions that they included in this response are even further ammunition to not reduce the verdict because it was well reasoned based on some of these questions.
Perhaps.
Here's a question for you, Kurt. Do you think that Hunter, being a lead in the dependency hearing, can't let it go and is way overinvested for all the wrong reasons?
Quite possibly, which is a very good reason to have different lawyers for different stages of the cases. So that doesn't happen either.
Yeah.
Watch Hunter himself take it on appeal just out of vengeance. That'll be good. I'm sure it'll go real well.
I think, I just like, I don't see why this wasn't a conflict because of Chapter 39. Like, if he represented the hospital in the dependency court proceeding, which they were a non-party in, by the way, why he was allowed to argue anything is beyond me. Because, like you, I follow the rules, right? I'm a rule person, so I'm about, and my opinions on cases shift depending on, you know, the case and the Constitution and the procedures that need to be followed while we're, you know, navigating this road of law. I don't think he should have been allowed to argue in that at all as a non-party. But when it came to defending this particular case, the fact that he was involved in this case in real time, him and Shapiro both, and are potential witnesses, really. And now they're trying this case. It seems to me like a clear conflict if Chapter 39 didn't exist. So I'm trying to navigate that whole thing. Like, why was this not a conflict for them to even try this case?
Appreciate it. Yeah, preach it.
Right. And when you hear, I know you didn't watch the whole trial, but there's this guy, Dr. Napolitano, who was on the risk management committee in real time. He said they did nothing in real time. They didn't have meetings. They knew nothing. He did not know about
part.
Maya, right? Until he read it in USA Today.
I heard that
year,
part.
2023.
That's great. That's good news.
So, juror number 1 would like to know, all your cupcakes, anyone bake any Christmas cookies? One of my favorites are, I'm not going to even try and pronounce that, Pfeffernuss cookies. What's yours? He's totally changing the subject, juror number 1.
I like white chocolate macadamia.
Yeah, those are good. You know who makes really the best chocolate chip cookies? Tate's. You know about Tate's chocolate chip cookies? From out here on Long Island, Southampton Bakery. Tate's cookies. They sell them in Costco now too, I think. All right. Do either of you believe that JH gave the go-ahead and attacked juror number 1, or did the defense just do what they wanted?
I don't really care either way because the lawyers are still ethically bound to rules of ethics regardless of what the client wants. That's why I was talking about lawyer, like earlier, the first duty, I was talking about this on my stream. Like, the first thing a lawyer does to become a lawyer is swear an oath to the Constitution and to defend the rule of law in the system. The system must come first. And usually there's not a conflict. It's like, I'm not going to do unethical things for you, client, because my law license is more important than you.
Right. I'm not risking my license because you want me to do something sleazy.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
I infer from the fact that we are where we are. Johns Hopkins, the hospital, the client, must surely know about some of this. I won't necessarily say they know about the whole SS thing. I won't that, but we're only there because no one has stopped the lawyers. The client didn't stop the lawyers. The judge didn't stop the lawyers. You know, I don't think the lawyers would have pushed it this far if the client was like, you know, you really seem to be putting me in a bad light. Really wish you would stop doing that. So Johns Hopkins has to be aware of some of this, and they're pushing through anyway. So one can therefore infer Johns Hopkins, the client, also doesn't care.
Yeah. I do, however, think that if I'm signing the checks and signing off on the $900 an hour that they're probably billing to write this motion, and they're putting this stuff out there about Schutzstaffel and white supremacy, and I'm a children's hospital, right? We have a certain reputation as a children's hospital to be nice and kind and compassionate and caring, and we're going to personally, I gotta think that they went rogue on this, and that nobody from the hospital signed off. I don't know. I don't know, but I would be shocked to think that anybody in risk management or whoever's in charge of their litigation in-house, because Hunter and Shapiro, they're not in-house for the hospital, I don't think.
No.
But I think if this is their gravy train, JHACH as a client, it may just come to a screeching halt after this case. And there is nothing worse than when the gravy train comes to a screeching halt.
Well, I guess it goes to show that a $900 lawyer isn't necessarily a great lawyer.
Yeah. I don't even know
I'll
if
do
that's
it.
their
I'll do it
hourly
for a
rate, but
third as much and still provide better representation.
right. Well, are you a defense attorney or a plaintiff's attorney or a constitutional attorney, or what is your area of practice?
Well, my historical area of practice was patent law. I was a
Oh,
patent lawyer
really?
for 15 years. Yeah.
You must be really smart. That was the patent lawyers are
My
really
undergrad is
smart.
computer science. I did inventions relating to computer databases and search engines, very technical stuff.
Yeah.
So I got burned out. And for the last year and a half, I've been on full-time hiatus and living off the YouTube game, which has been great. And I hope at some point to go back into appeals would be great. So I'd love to become some kind
Mm.
of appellate lawyer. So I love the law. I don't really like facts very much. Appellate law is great. I don't have to
Yeah.
talk to the. I don't have to
Right.
even talk. I don't even have to talk to the client. Just send me a copy of the record and a check and leave me alone. Yeah.
I went on a hiatus about, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago. Decided I wanted to be an actor. So I just was like, oh, and then was doing that for a while, still collecting from my former firm because, I sold the firm. And then the strikes happened. So I'm like, all right, I'll go make my own content on YouTube. And here we are.
Excellent.
But
I've
I
done
really,
improv. I've done
have
a lot
you?
of improv acting. Yeah.
Yes, and all right. Well,
Yeah. You
we
got
can
it.
do that. Yes, and.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I found myself here in order to, prevent myself from going absolutely nuts and, jumping off the building because there was no work. And so it's like creating your own content. See, you're a frustrated actor too, or comedian. So, here
Yeah.
we are. We get to perform for all of these lovely people,
I get to teach.
1,275 of whom are
It's
still
great.
here.
It's great.
Mhm.
I get to teach more people than any law school professor ever could, man. It's fantastic. I get
Yeah,
to talk about whatever I want at any time. I can just talk about any subject I want at any time. I can do any case or any subject matter. It's fantastic.
it
I get to
is.
do whatever I want. Blah ha ha.
It's a good time. It's a good time. And now that you let me into your little club, maybe we can do this again. I'd love to talk about the Chat GPT lawyer case with you because that
That was pretty embarrassing.
is great. Did you cover it at all? I mean,
Oh
that was
yeah. Oh
classic.
yeah.
That's before I even came to YouTube, but, I'm here on Long Island, so I'm doing the Long Island serial killer cases, and I go see him in court, and he did look at me one time in court. He looked right at me, and it was chilling. It was chilling to look a serial killer in the an alleged serial killer, innocent until proven guilty. That's what they say. Shiraz says, "I've never met a lawyer that actually liked practicing law." It's true. I mean, you get burned out after a while, and that's what happened to me. I just got burned out. It sucked the soul out of me.
Mm,
But so if you want to go back and do it again, good on you.
yeah. For me, the problem was more specific. Patent lawyers tend to be extremely niche. So
Mhm.
they tend to be very narrow, and they wind up being an expert. And as they gain more experts, their expertise becomes more valuable, and they become more niche, right? So it's a self-reinforcing cycle. So it got to the point about at no later than 10 years in my career. I worked 15, but no later than 10 years, I knew everything. There was nothing new. It was all the same because I've been doing the exact same thing for 10 years. And it's like, everything is just iterations on the same thing. There's nothing new for me here. And I like learning. So the part of me that likes learning stuff started slowly getting more and more frustrated. And as I've talked about openly on my channel, I deal with depression. And I was having incredible problems. And, by the time I hit my 15 year mark when I quit, I had been on this decline, and my friends in the law tube game were really beginning to become really concerned because I was having these 4 week long depressive episodes that I couldn't get out of, and speaking in very dark terms and all the rest of it. And so some of my reputation for my personality is built on that because I was going through a lot. And one of the things, it manifested in a couple ways. It manifested in apathy and lethargy, and it also manifested in me being much more sensitive emotionally, like eggshell skull kind of thing, right? So
Yeah.
I wasn't able to take criticism and not just like blow the roof because had no emotional fortitude, right? I was exhausted. So I gained a reputation for yelling and screaming at my chat and yelling and screaming at people and being very harsh because I was emotionally weak. And in the year and a half since I've left, I'm becoming gradually better and better because I'm feeding the part of my psyche that need to be fed, like the opportunity to learn, because I get to read something new every day and learn something new every day. And it's fantastic. And particularly in like the last 4 weeks since I've been on a new medication, I've just been in such great spirits and I've been so happy and the chat's so
Oh, I love
happy.
that for you.
We're having a great time. So things have improved and I'm very happy for it.
I love that for you. Congratulations. That is, there's a lot of people in my chat who also suffer from depression and a lot of other things. And I think that they, Laura, hi, Laura, can you please go find my conversation. Thank you, Laura. I will try to go find it right now. But that takes a lot to admit that publicly and to talk about it. And you're in the right place because we are so compassionate here.
I hope by
Look at
talking
you have
about
a
it, I'm helping.
soft side.
I hope I'm talking about it. I'm helping somebody out there. I think it's
Yeah.
particularly difficult for men to talk about it
Oh, 100%.
because I think there's a lot of. I think men are judged for actually talking about their feelings. I think women say they want it, and then when men do, they tend to not like it. And it's like, yeah, let me open to you and show you my vulnerabilities. Like, oh, weak man. Okay, well, that's great. So,
No,
yeah.
I think that the older that we get as women, the more we appreciate a man who's actually in touch with his feelings instead of being a total narcissist who doesn't ever think that he does anything wrong. So I commend you for that. I applaud you for that, ladies in the chat. I
am single. Holla.
Holla. So am I. All right. I'm not setting us up, but I'm just saying, because you couldn't really like have a spouse and do this all day long because, you would get in trouble maybe. Right. Laura says, why has the judge not sanctioned or punished the defense for not turning over the IJ report? Please, I need an answer.
Yeah, we should have. What you do as a judge, you issue that order to show cause, and you start out small with sanctions because you hope that they're going to learn. So you start out small and you start escalating, and then you start reaching the non-monetary sanctions, which can be, first of all, how about a day in jail? That's always fun. Or you can do like, how about I delete this part of your case, delete this defense, can't present that witness, or something else like as non-monetary sanctions. And then you get to the ultimate sanction of how about you just lose the case.
Right.
And so I agree with you. It's like the only answer is because the judge never did it. The judge should have been like, yeah, you're going to produce it. I guarantee you will. And if you don't, it's going to get very uncomfortable very fast for you personally, the lawyers, because I'm fining you. So this is coming out of your pocket.
Right. I mean, nothing hurts a lawyer more than money.
Right?
I mean, I heard a lawyer.
It tends to get their attention.
Reference to the grievance committee, a referral to the grievance committee.
Yeah, that also gets their attention.
I think that something will be coming, perhaps, maybe with the whole rest of these motions. Maybe he'll rule on that. But, they took those boxes away after the trial was over. And then Greg Anderson said, wait, where are those boxes? And one of them, Hunter Shapiro, said, what do you need that for now? It was kind of like, you still don't need to turn it over.
Well, court order sounds like a pretty good reason just for a starter. How about that?
Yeah. Do you think JHACH will replace this law firm when this is all over? That's what I was just talking about earlier. I think the gravy train might come to a screeching halt. I don't know. They apparently have a long-standing relationship. So, thoughts?
Johns Hopkins would be well advised to distance themselves from this council because they're not happening. I would desperately try to turn over a new leaf at Johns Hopkins in sharp order.
Yeah. Juror number 1 will not be in the gallery on Friday the 15th. That's probably a good call, juror number 1 on your part. I don't know.
Oh no, I would definitely not go. Now I would be remiss if I didn't point out that the order specifically said they would not be taking any kind of testimony. So, but that being the case, I think you're probably better off not appearing in person just for, safety's sake.
Safety, yeah, or everyone trying to ask questions and,
that
get
too.
Like, forget it. You don't even want to, like, don't do it. Don't do it. Stay home. Stay home. All right, my people, my friends, my cupcakes. Oh my goodness, here's one right in here, Shiraz. Thank you so much. I want to drop a load of memberships. Freaking Apple won't let me yet. I don't know, but thank you for your support. We appreciate you. Colleen says it's touching hearing about Kurt's journey. I'm new to uncivil law, but I'm so happy that he's in a better place now. Thank you for sharing, Kurt. I've been down for a while now.
It's really hard. It's really hard, and just all I can really say is I understand.
Yeah.
And who knows what the future will bring? All I know is that I've been on an upswing recently, and I'm grateful for that. And hopefully, it will continue. And maybe if I'm really lucky, it'll become cured. Who knows? But all I can really say is I understand. Try different treatments. I finally found a combination of medications that seem to work. I'm on this new one, Vyvanse, which is for ADHD. It's in the category of like the same thing as Adderall and those sort of drugs. I didn't have luck. I didn't have any luck with Adderall. It didn't really work for me. So it's interesting because it's kind of in the same class of drugs that you would think that it would work, but it didn't. And so this Vyvanse is in that same category. But for whatever reason, this drug seems to really be a positive influence for me. So I know it's frustrating. I've been there. There were times when I was so medicated that I was like numb basically from the amount of drugs, which wasn't really helping with the depression. It was just impacting my cognitive abilities. I was like literally losing IQ points because it was like my brain was in a fog. So I've definitely had I did ketamine IM for
really?
depression. I found that very helpful.
Interesting. I had Dr. Cave on here. He's got a clinic in San Francisco. He has his YouTube channel is Medical Secrets, I think.
Yeah.
But that's interesting that it worked for you. Rain Man says, thank you for your super chat. As a person who's nourished by human anguish, I miss the old Kurt a little. Thankfully, I have my desk in the IT department. All is well. Chantal, thank you for your super chat. Are you able to recertify in another area of law, Kurt? Does it work that way?
No. Sure. I don't necessarily need to be certified in another area of law. Patent law is unique, though, because it's the only one that you need a special license for. Yeah, I can just do any field of law I want. So I have now licenses in all the law. Kick ass.
Maybe we could get you a side gig as being an appellate attorney. If you like the research and you love writing briefs, I mean, I'm here for that. Let's do it. Let's,
sure, works for me.
You have a huge audience here. So there's definitely, like, as an attorney, as a trial lawyer, I hate appellate work, hate it. So we would always farm it out to people who love doing that kind of thing. It is a very specialized area of law, and appellate attorneys need to love what they're doing. And they need to love to go and argue in front of the
trials are messy. Trials are about facts, man.
Right. But
just tell me what the facts are. I'll work on the law.
Exactly. And as an appellate lawyer, that's all you do. And you get to go argue in front of a panel of judges. And they put you on the spot. And it's like being back in law school again when they put you on the spot. And they're like, and what about this case? What about Roe versus Wade? What did they say in that case? And then it's all very, like improv. That's what we do.
A little bit.
We're unscripted. Our shows are unscripted. We come on when we want. We talk for hours, unscripted.
Yeah.
Are you only admitted in Texas? Because now I'm thinking about your side gig right now. Texas and Virginia. All right. Well, there's a lot.
And the Federal Circuit and the U.S. Supreme Court.
Well.
And the patent bar.
We're going to make this side gig happen for you. Now that you're happy and you want to do like more legal work, but we do love the YouTube thing. On civil law, Melanie says she knows a client who needs an appeal. Do I? People always need appeals. Appellate lawyers are really in high demand and short supply because it really, really is a very specialized area. Thank you for sharing your journey, says Clara Bella. She's always very supportive, and you always have our support. I don't know what that is.
It's Wellbutrin. It's also known as Wellbutrin.
Okay.
It's a classic treatment for depression. I'm on that as well, and I'm also on, what's the other one? It's I can't quite remember. I'll get back to you.
Did you have
something?
Did you have difficulty pronouncing peculiarly? I had, it was like in the motion that we read last night, and I had a really hard time. Oh, Ed, thank you for gifting 10 memberships. That is very nice of you. Thank you. And thank you, Laura, for don't hold her breath out for anything major on Friday. I think he's going to reserve decision. I don't know. I think he might publicly spank them a little bit and say, don't do this again. Like, I don't know what to expect. What do you think?
I don't think he's going to do anything on Friday. I think he's going to hold it all in reserve and probably disappoint us because I've been disappointed thus far. That's the trend. Why would he do anything now if he's not done anything before, right?
But we need to have hope.
Judge Carroll is weak. He needs some big. He needs big judge balls. Big judge balls
to have hope, because if you award a large amount of money, you're going to be taking away money from children with cancer. Debbie, thank you for your super chat. ADHD, anxiety, and depression are comorbid. An increase in one can completely negate the medication for another. It's so difficult to get the meds correct.
Preach.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you. Thank you for your medical advice. I love that. Thank you to everyone for watching. Have any final thoughts before I let you go?
Was I nice to you?
You were so nice to me. I would totally let you come back.
I promised. I do good.
I just heard about something that you did to somebody once, so a woman, and like yelled at her, and it scared me. But I do lurk in your chat. What?
She deserved
okay.
She's a
well,
fool.
Yeah, I don't know the backstory on that, but was I nice to you?
Yeah.
We're gonna be nice to each other?
Yeah.
All right. So now we have like a law tube friendship.
Yeah.
Who likes it? Who's here for it? Is anybody here for it? I mean, if there's anybody I'm going to debate.
I don't suffer fools whether there's men or women, right? So some people say, well, it's misogyny. I'm like, I don't think that's fair. I think it's because they're an idiot.
Right. I hate everyone equally. I hate everyone equally. Really. I don't like people. I don't like lawyers. I generally don't like lawyers at all. I've said that many times. Cherry says, thank you for your super chat. Kurt is one of my original Dep 5 attorneys. I'm loving the added bonus of you two getting to know each other. Love you both. Aww. Maybe we could do like a well, you don't watch TV, but they just have this show called The Golden Bachelor, and it was
I saw advertisements for it.
He was like in his 70s, and all the women were like 60 plus, but they were all really hot. They were all like really attractive women, and like it gave me hope. Like, look, you're never too old to dream a new dream. That's what I decided when practicing law was sucking the life out of me, and I thought, if not now, when? Like, you're never too old to dream a new dream. That is a quote from the guy who wrote Alice in Wonderland, who I get confused, Lewis Carroll, right? C.S. Lewis wrote the Chronicles of Narnia, right?
Yeah.
And Lewis Carroll. So that's the Lewis Carroll quote. And that's what I'm saying. You're never too old to dream a new dream or to get happy. So I'm glad that you're getting happy. And that we've nurtured this relationship a little bit. We are all uncivilized little cupcakes. Oh, I love that for us. Thanks, Fiji.
It's uncivil law because the law is uncivilized. And as we've seen in JHACH, we've seen that manifest. So, yeah.
What is your thing that you say where we learn from the misfortune of others? Right? Is that your tagline?
Yeah. Uncivil law, where we learn through the misfortunes of others. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. My lighting is giving you some sort of a glow, Kurt, or are you just glowing? Oh, look, everyone loves happy Kurt.
I'm in better spirits. Thanks, I've been really on a good ride for the last month, man. It's great.
All right. Well,
the Vyvanse has really been working. So I'm on 300 milligrams XL for the Wellbutrin. Vyvanse, I'm currently at 30. I'm asking my doctor to go up to 50, and I'm on. It isn't Prozac, but it's like that. I'm having a struggle remembering the name of the drug. So I'm something on that. It's like 20 milligram. So that's the current combination I'm on. That seems to be working out pretty well.
You got to find the right cocktail. Juror number 1 says that you need a pink glitter hat. Oh, I think I can know where to get one of those. All right, I'm totally sending you one.
The problem with that is I have a very large hat size. I had to get this hat custom made. It's made by hand because I literally can't buy off the shelf. I have an 8 3/8 hat size. So good luck on finding 6 foot.
Doesn't every cowboy in Austin have to have a handmade hat? I mean, they're all custom, right? I mean, you can't be walking around with a hat.
A lot of those guys are just getting stuff off the shelf. This was made by Texas hatters, who are probably the best in the state. They, the 5th generation hat makers, and
I'll
call them custom made by hand. Yeah.
Brand deal. As long as you don't crash your plane into a mountain for your brand deal, I think we'll be good. I'll negotiate those contracts for you, but you're a lawyer too, so you can do that. Chantal says, Kurt, tell Melanie about Twitch as a revenue stream. I don't know anything about
Well,
Twitch.
I think I'll tell you what I'm doing. I
Mhm,
think for you, my advice for the near future would be to focus on YouTube.
mhm,
But what I'm doing is I'm co-streaming over on Twitch, and because they've recently changed the rules and allowed this, so this is relatively new. You didn't used to be able to do this.
mhm.
And if people have Amazon Prime, they can choose to tie that to their Twitch account, and then they can use the subscribe on Twitch, which is the paid option. So it gives you money, but it doesn't cost them anything. So
Oh,
Jeff
that's
Bezos pays
cool.
them rather than you. So I for
Hmm.
the moment would just focus on growing your YouTube,
Okay.
um, and not worry about that. But when you hit a little bit higher in your subscriber count, it could be a
Yeah.
really good revenue mechanism.
All right, cool. I don't really know much about Twitch. I know my kids use it for like gaming and stuff, but
Yeah, that's principally what it's for.
yeah, I'm in here for like 5 months. Like this is me just doing
Yeah,
improv for anybody who wants to listen.
This is me 5 years into it. So
But you're
you
loving it.
yeah, I am loving it. I am loving it. Give it a little bit more time to
Hmm.
grow on YouTube, and you're doing great. If you've only been on 5 months, so 20,000,
Hmm.
you're doing great. I think you're growing faster than I did. I think it took me forever to get to the first 1,000.
Oh,
It was a
really?
long slog, and then 10,000 took me a long time. Yeah. So give it some time before you start expanding it. You want to learn YouTube. That's
Yeah.
principally the reason I'm telling you that. It's like because you
Yeah.
don't want to distract yourself by also trying to learn Twitch at the same time. It's a different medium. So get a really good handle on YouTube before you start thinking about co-streaming at other places.
I don't want to do anything. I don't even know. I don't want to go Patreon. I don't know. I don't know what that is. I don't want Discord. I don't want any Discord in my life, quite francly. I don't know
I
what
would
that is.
recommend against Discord. I keep threatening to close my own Discord because it's done me no good. I've been threatening to close my Discord for 3 years. Don't do
Empty
it.
threats, hollow threats from Kurt on civil law. I don't know. Prozac is not
Yeah, that's the
acid
one.
tolerance
Yeah,
fluoxetine.
I was saying it was in the same class as Prozac, but
Mm.
that's the right jug.
Somebody
That
else is on
one. So
Trintellix. So
yeah,
everyone's got the all
right,
the drugs
right.
for you here. Duloxetine now, the others stopped working. I mean, I say just, microdose and go see what happens. I don't know. It's in all the papers now. I've
I
got
think I
your
confused myself.
yeah, it's okay. Whatever makes you feel better, that is everyone loves Melanie. Kurt, the key is kindness. Once you turned over that new leaf, I'm betting you will get more popular. You already are super popular. You have like over 100,000 subs, right?
126,000, baby. Represent.
126,000 represent. So when do you get a plaque? I don't know. When do I get a
I
plaque?
do.
No, do I get it? When
100,000.
do I get a plaque? Let's talk about me for a second.
100,000. 100,000.
100? Wait, I thought it was like 50. I thought I got a
It's
plaque at
not.
like 50.
No.
I got to make 100. I got to get to 100. All right. Maybe I can get to 20 by the end of the year. I don't know. I've got some Team Maya merch, by the way, people. Anybody, it's all linked to the chat. All of the proceeds are going to CRPS research. So I'm not making a dime on that, but it is really cute. I did design it. Maybe I'll send you a hat, Kurt. You want a hat, a shirt? What do you want?
Shirt sounds good.
All right.
2XL, please.
All right. Well, you have to pick your color and everything. I'll have to email you the link and you can pick what you want and then I'll have it
All
shipped to you
right.
for Christmas. A little Christmas present or Hanukkah
Sure.
present, whatever you prefer. We said final thoughts like a half an hour ago. Do you have any final thoughts?
Not really. I had a good time. Hope we can do it again sometime.
Yeah, I'd love to do it again. I'm glad that we made friends. Oh, yes, Melanie. Thank you. Thank you, JL, for your super chat. All right. I'm going to let you go, but I appreciate you coming in and keeping it classy. And this was fun.
Yeah,
I think
very
the people
good.
liked it. I think our people liked it. We like to
Yeah.
cross-pollinate. Cross-pollinating is good. And it's
Yeah, for
good to have
sure.
differences of opinions and to be able to respect them, and listen, I defer to you on all areas of law, dude. That's your thing.
I
That's
always
your
like
thing.
checking my thinking.
Yeah.
I always like checking my thinking because I can always be wrong.
Yeah. No.
And when people disagree with me, I like to, consider it and be like, and sometimes at the end of that, we still disagree, but that's okay. We don't have to always agree about everything.
Yeah.
Me and Nick are good friends and we disagree about Marbury versus Madison. So, what can you do?
That's ancient. Look, we both have blue eyes too. It looks good on the stream.
You have very pretty eyes.
Thank you. See, I painted my wall back there Tiffany blue. Like back in the day, I took a Tiffany box to the paint store and I said, "Can you match this color? Because I want to be like Audrey Hepburn, who's hanging right over here at breakfast at Tiffany's, and I want to live inside of a Tiffany box."
It was Lexapro. Thank you. That's right. Exapro. Esther
What it is.
Cethalopram. So you guys figured it out by me stumbling through it. So Lexapro at 20 milligrams, Wellbutrin at 300 XL, and Vyvanse at currently 30, hopefully soon to be 50. That is the current cocktail. It's working for me. Yee.
Remember when Kurt said after 10 years he knew everything? See that? Look, all you had to do is to come onto my show and talk to somebody with a little bit of compassion, and you had opened up to the YouTube world, my friend.
I was quite clear when I said that. It was within the little niche that I was in.
No, not that.
I was quite clear.
No,
It was in that little niche.
That part. No, but you are right. Because once you know patent law, it doesn't really change. Like it's a finite area of law. It's not ever changing. What I am saying is you came on, I am known for my compassion, and you opened up to the entire YouTube world about your struggles, and now everyone has a whole new love for you.
That's awesome.
See what happened? Right, guys?
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm happy for you. I'm really happy. This was really fun. See, we can talk about other stuff. We don't even have to talk about the law. We don't even have to fight. Everybody loves it.
What are we fighting about? So far, we're not fighting about anything.
We haven't fought about anything. Wonderful to hear you found the happy cocktail that works for you, Kurt.
Yeah.
YouTube therapy. Yeah, this is like YouTube therapy. We do a lot of that here. We did a whole thing about Matthew Perry. Oh, I felt so bad for Matthew Perry. He finally turned his life around and he was helping other people. And then his body just quit on him. It was very sad. And I was very upset about that. And I didn't even know him. So I'm glad to see that you're out of your funk, because you told us about your funk. I didn't know about your funk otherwise. And that you are on the upswing. And it only gets better from here.
I've got a cool hat. Sounds nice.
You do.
And I've got this cool microphone. So I'm very happy about that.
That is
finally upgraded after too many years.
Oh, yeah?
I was very happy.
Duty Ron sent me this mic. He was kind enough to send that to me.
What you got?
He didn't want me to. It's a Rode.
Which one?
It's under here. It's the pod mic.
Okay, that's a good choice. That's a very good place to start. For $99, that's a very good place.
Oh, I don't know. He sent it to me as a gift, but now you just outed him. Is that cheap? He should have bought me a better mic. Duty Ron, are you listening?
It's a $99. I'm not calling him cheap.
No,
I'm not calling him cheap. It's a $99 mic, and it's a very, very good mic. It's well respected. It's a directional mic. It's a great place to start. You can get fantastic audio out of it. So it's what Recovery Addict uses. He uses the pod mic, and he gets great results out of it. So
he's got a crazy
setup. I think Patrick Bet David also uses the pod mic, and he's rich as hell, and he still uses the pod mic for his people.
Kim says, I love the fact that people on YouTube platforms share their challenges because it makes them human, relatable, and it helps people. Well, I'm a single mother of 5. Does that help anybody out there? And the cost of oil to heat my house is insane right now. Okay, it's insane. Everybody's struggling. So yeah.
How old are your children?
Well, 2 of them have birthdays next week. So they will be 32 and 28. And then I have twins. My twins are 17 and they're applying to colleges right now. And my baby, Scarlett, is, and she comes on the stream sometimes to say hello. She's always begging in the chat for Chipotle money. She's like, can somebody donate to my Chipotle fund? She's 15. So yeah, no, it's
so turning 32. So that means you 32. So that means you had your oldest when you were 14.
I know, as a child bride in Utah, I had, I was one of the sister wives, and it's a great ring light. That's the key to everything, is a great ring light in life. And, if you want to sing a duet sometime, we could practice.
Put your little hand in mine, baby. There ain't no mountain we can't climb, babe. Sonny and Cher?
That one?
I got you, babe. I got flowers. In the spring,
I was thinking something
I got you to wear my ring.
I don't know the rest of the words, but I was thinking more like a Lady Gaga, Bradley Cooper duet, like Shallow, or something from Stars Born, or there's not a lot of duets, except for Don't Go Breaking My Heart, that one, or maybe something from Grease. We could do Summer Lovin'. We'll have to think on it.
Okay.
There are some good duets that we could do. We could karaoke night.
That sounds fun.
We'll think about it.
All right. Let's sign off.
Have to get auto-tune. All right. Say goodnight, Kurt.
I have auto-tune.
Oh, you do? Well, that would be really good.
Oh yeah. No, I got it all set for sure. I can do all kinds of fun things. I got magic chords for days, so I can sing to you with increased audio. Glory and wonders and awesomeness for you and me.
We're both super fun. We are both super fun. Gotta Go My Own Way from High School Musical. I don't know that one. Shallow is my favorite. That would be my go-to. So, you know, if you want to practice in the car, you know, I mean, you could do the Bradley Cooper part. I could do the Lady Gaga part.
Sweet.
All
I'll
right.
sign off.
Say goodnight,
Wanna go to
Kurt.
sleep. Good night.
Good night, Kurt. Thank you for coming. Everyone say goodnight to Kurt. All right. Come back again real soon, will y'all?
Will do.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, you guys. Well, that was fun. We had a little special guest. Kurt from Uncivil Law was here and he opened up to us so nicely. Wasn't it nice? I love that you guys were so kind to him. And we talked about his, I had no idea about any of that stuff. This was totally unplanned. It was totally spontaneous. And that is one of the great things about YouTube. And apparently LawTube, which I really didn't know much about until like last week. Because I come from the other side of things, the law enforcement side. So thank you to everyone, my moderators, for keeping it so classy tonight in the, in the chat. This is hilarious because somebody said uncivil cupcakes is the combo I didn't know I needed. And I'm going to leave that up because I may make this the thumbnail for tonight. So, geez. Thank you to all of my moderators for keeping it classy. Thank you to my channel members, my little cupcakes, to my replay viewers. Everyone, please just like below. Hit the like. It helps the algorithm. Let's get to 20,000 by, you know, the end of the year, which is really only a couple of weeks. And I don't ever ask anybody for money. I don't want you guys to give me your money, but if you want to join, that'd be great. But hitting subscribe is free. Hitting the like button is free. Sharing the stream is free. And remember, be cool, be kind, be classy. It's not hard. We won Kurt over tonight. We can do anything together, you guys. We can do anything. I'm going to see you real soon, everyone. Peace out.